All right, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of pressure on me right now because A, we're behind, but on top of that is another nonstop action takeover here of Sportswire Radio and Nonstop Action Wrestling NSAW because our guest to kick things off, well, she's pretty good in her own right on the mic. You see her all over the place. She's a performing artist. She tours. She's does a whole bunch of things in J-pop, baby metal, you name it, she can sing it. And also, she's training in her own right to be a pro wrestling star. Also does some ring work for our very good friends over at Nonstop Action Wrestling. And get this, they call her the rock idol of the UK. So certainly Billy Idol was pretty famous, but she's definitely going to be a lot more famous than Billy Idol. And she's probably looking at me, why am I bringing up Billy Idol? And Billy Idol's like 30, 40 years past anybody's time at this point. But I thought with the UK, it was a good presence to be able to mention. So with further ado here on the Sports Report, number one level sports show, ring introduction person, ring announcer, training to be a pro wrestler, and star when it comes to J-pop, baby metal, anime conventions, you name it, they call her the rock idol of the UK. That's Jenny Hayes. Jenny, I gave one of my longer introductions to anybody in quite a while. I did it in 1 minute and 54 seconds. So hopefully you enjoy that. And how you doing, Jenny, tonight?
I'm doing absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad to hear. Definitely, we'll see how my voice will hold up here over the next couple of hours. And our very good friend Anthony J. Finkel from DPH Property Services, he tunes in and he tries to mimic the number one, but something tells me here that his vocal cords would not hold up, and his vocal cords I don't think would be able to pull it off. But we love Anthony Finkel, and that's here nor there. But Jenny Hayes, obviously it's good to be with you, and I'm getting some more comments in there. Lungs of Steel, well, we'll see. I mean, I've got a big gulp in my hand next to me, so we'll see how long that'll last when it comes to Lungs of Steel, when it comes to Mixed Night. And obviously, shout out to Mixed Night, who was with us on Monday's show, of course, where we broke the announcement that is going to forever break the forbidden door here in professional wrestling, not just in the UK, but wrestling around the world with Nonstop Action Wrestling. But I mean, Jenny, set the tables for us. And what got you involved from being a singer and a star where you perform all over the UK to getting involved in this company called Nonstop Action Wrestling?
Actually, it was a complete coincidence. I mean, if you were to tell me about a year ago that I wanted to become a professional wrestler, I'd say, what the hell are you talking about? Could you imagine me, 5'4", jumping about in the ring with a bunch of muscly guys? But I've been training with NSAW since October, November time. And luckily, the training where they train is literally a walk down the road from my house. So I was looking for somewhere to train, and I thought, I'm going to go with NSAW. And I think it's probably one of the best choices I've ever made in my life, because I couldn't imagine a better company, a more friendly bunch of people to train with. So I think if it wasn't for NSAW, I don't think I'd have the confidence to be doing what I'm doing now with wrestling.
Okay, very, very interesting stuff there when it comes to everything that you got involved in. I find it so fascinating because we had on Mixed Nights, and he had obviously sort of a similar story where he wasn't even a professional wrestling fan. He had obviously his brother who loved it. Then we had on a guy last night from my neck of the woods, and Chris Urban. And Chris was actually kind of like you in your background. He was a heavy metal musician, and he was a well-known player here in the New York area. But he loved wrestling. He was always like, he always wanted to do it, and he was a wrestling fan. But you didn't really have any interest. I mean, kind of so ironic, right? I mean, all of a sudden a year ago, you're probably thinking about, hey, I'm going to go on and be really successful in the music world. You still are. We'll talk about that as well. But I mean, what was that moment where the light clicked on almost?
Well, to be honest, I mean, as a kid, I was a big, massive fan of WWE, and I I'd see all these different divas, like Trish Stratus, Mickie James, etc. And I thought, these women are doing it and it looked absolutely amazing. So I wanted to do it. So I just remember, like, at the age of 12, practicing suplexes on a trampoline in my back garden, just chucking my brother over. And then, it kind of fizzled out a little bit as I grew up and got more into music. But then I don't know, for some reason, my passion for wrestling came back, and it's just all started from there, really.
And I've got a couple of comments in here, and let me get to some of those comments first. And that is the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who's coming back to Sportswire Radio, which, by the way, we broke on Instagram. He's coming back next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time. And this time he'll be on with Slugger Hampton, one half of the CCW Tag Team Champions, and, of course, a huge part of Top Tier. So I'm looking forward once again to the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who at this point I probably have to give royalties to and how many appearances he's been with us. So I am looking forward to being with the lawman Kyle Kennedy. And he says the only nice thing he's saying is that you are the GOAT when it comes to ring announcing. I would definitely agree. And Goliath says, oh no, be careful, Tom Bryce. Jenny Hayes is the most powerful human being in nonstop action wrestling. Don't get on the wrong side. No, we're definitely not looking to get on Jenny's wrong side, because Jenny does the most important part, which Goliath is right in that you introduce all these wrestlers that are coming out there. And I've obviously heard some of the stuff on the YouTube page of Nonstop Action Wrestling. So I couldn't agree. And I want to get to the point back about female wrestlers who also have gone out there and done some things outside of the professional wrestling world. Like I think about Mickie James, right? And Mickie James has obviously also been an accomplished singer, but does some country work. Obviously, country music, she performs, but she's gone out there and been very successful with that. Lita has also gone on after her career, but she's also done the punk rock scene. She's been involved in a band and stuff. So I guess you can now, it's more acceptable in terms of at least being from the female end of it. Like, let's say you want to be a wrestler, but also continue your career musically. Even Chris Jericho, we see with Fozzy, had a gold album. We had Chris Urban on last night, and Chris actually toured with Fozzy 20 plus years ago, and they were kind of like, it was a joke, but they stuck at it, and obviously they've had success, and Chris has had his career. And do you feel like in some senses, because of people like, let's say, a Mickie James, for example, that says, you know what, I can continue my career musically, but also train and be a wrestler, because they kind of go hand in hand, both worlds? Is that something you feel?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, as a wrestler and a singer, you're both going out to perform at the end of the day. And just like with wrestling, you've got that relationship with the fans, whether you're a face or a heel. And there's always that small group of people that are going to follow you to every match, every, social media interaction. And it's also the same with singing as well. I mean, I've got quite a big fan base as a singer, and then obviously with me sharing my adventures with wrestling as well, they've then come over to follow me as a wrestler as well, and it's really, really nice to be able to bridge that gap. But yeah, I do have to say, in terms of all that, Mickie James is definitely someone that really inspired me, because I never thought I'd be able to do singing and wrestling both together. But it's happened, as you said, with the examples that you brought forward. So,
it's definitely doable. And in fact, in the UK wrestling scene, there's a couple of wrestlers I know, and obviously Manchester, there's a guy, John McKinney, J-Mac. I don't know if you know John McKinney or not. And John McKinney is a very, very accomplished singer. He's a little bit different in terms of the genre. He plays in more of an acoustic guy. He does some folk rock kind of stuff like that. And he's wrestled in Future Shock and the LWF, and he's probably more known for his music career than as a wrestler. And then there's a guy also, Scotty Rock, who's been big with BWR and Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and he has a band and a little bit more on the hardcore side of things. But he's been able to do both and juggle them, and I think you can do it much more. And I was curious also, going back to the music part in terms of wrestling, do you feel like there's a lot more similarities in terms of the fan base, or in terms of what you put into it from a performance side? I mean, you kind of just spoke about it, but I find that so fascinating, especially because we spoke with Chris Urban last night, and I had asked him some of those questions, and I have a few comments, and I'll get to those comments.
Yeah.
But do you find, in terms of like getting, like performing at a show, and let's say getting ready to prepare to call a wrestling match, as ring introductions, or even training to be a wrestler as you are now, do you find similarities? And also conversely, what are some of the differences, you think?
I think, well, in terms of my own experience, because I do everything myself as a singer, when it comes to booking shows and getting myself out there, it's all just by myself. You know,
Okay.
I don't have like an agent or somebody that can get in contact with different shows and companies and represent me. Whereas with the wrestling side, you know, a lot of trainees approach companies and then they kind of build their own repertoire in the company, such as what I'm doing with NSAW. You know, NSAW as a company is growing above and beyond what I would have expected it to do a year ago. So, you know, I've got that platform there to learn my craft and get a lot of knowledge from other people as well, because NSAW, it's starting to connect with the amazing companies, you know, like Blackheart Wrestling, GTM, etc. And so I think I've got a bit more luck in that venue. You know, I'm not doing all of this by myself. I'm not getting in contact with companies myself, you know, so there is a bit of a difference with that. But at the same time, there's still a lot of hard work that I have to put in individually
Do
in
you when
wrestling, you know.
do you and I'll get to a few comments in a second, I promise, but I'm so curious because I asked Chris this question in terms of booking yourself as an artist, and when he was playing with his bands, and he was a big product of the New York heavy metal scene, which
Mm.
is legendary, and certainly that's a different thing for a different discussion. But do you find it tougher to book in the music world, or would you wish it would be similar to the wrestling world in the booking aspect of it? Give me your thoughts.
It can be difficult because, I mean, I've been doing singing for well over, I'd probably say my whole life, but I'd
Okay.
only say from about 2015, 2016 is when I really started getting the ball rolling with different shows. I've got my foot in the door with a lot of different events and that now, but at the start, I had to do a lot of gigs free. I
Oh,
couldn't,
I'm sure. The music
you
scene
know,
is, you don't get into it all of a sudden, and
no,
and you get, hey, I'm gonna make money, and it's gonna be a big deal. No, you have to cut your chops out there. I mean, my brother was in
yeah,
bands, and I remember very well. You'd play at these places, and you have like 5 people show up or six
yeah,
people show up. You know, it's just
yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first performance. It was a very, very small hall of people, and they weren't really knowing what to expect from me. So it was a bit hard because they weren't really interacting. But you know, as time goes on, you kind of find your craft, and you get a lot more confident with getting audiences to rock out with you, especially seeing like fully grown men just headbanging to baby metal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, I'm gonna get to that because obviously you have some obviously priorities for people when they come to your shows, and we'll definitely get to the headbanging side of things because that's a world that I actually know very well, and I actually revealed the story with Chris last night, and I'll tell you the story, and
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll appreciate it, and we'll get to that. But let me get to some comments. Taylor
yeah.
Trutz, who also in his own right does a great job for ring introductions for Colory Championship Wrestling, is tuned in. He also says women in wrestling at the present is the best it's ever been. I think it's only going to get better from here, actually. So
Oh
it's the
yeah.
best right now, but it'll get better. So I can promise you, because we have
Mm.
Jenny here, the rock idol of the UK, it's only going to get better from here. That's
Yes.
what I would also add. We have the boss of Nonstop Action Wrestling, Mr. Joshua Snow, tuned in. He says, good to see you on here, Jenny Hayes, and very kind words about NSAW. What did you think about the forbidden door being opened by NSAW with our most recent announcement Monday night? What's your thoughts on that? Good question.
I'm very, very excited to see where that goes. I don't know the full details yet, but from what I can
Okay.
tell, I think it's really gonna make NSAW stand out in the UK wrestling scene. You know, it's not a company that people look at and think, oh, they're training the little newbies. No, like NSAW are making an impact, and I think probably NSAW is going to be the inspiration for a lot of other companies and maybe leading the UK wrestling scene in general, I reckon.
Do you find that some of the ideas that are kind of spawned by this announcement, and obviously hearing Mixed Knights, what Mixed Knight had to say about it, but do you find some of that maybe is inspired by other venues, whether it's the music world, the performing arts
Mhm.
world, which yourself and others who are from NSAW are involved in, and maybe that's kind of where the idea came from? Is that something you see maybe why this could be successful?
I definitely think so because I mean, from more of a perspective as somebody who does music, I mean, when I'm finding inspiration for like new ideas and how to progress, I'm always looking at what other people are doing and not necessarily copying them, but kind of adopting different ideas and, okay, maybe I can try this, maybe I can try that. So it's all a bit of trial and error. But I mean, from seeing how the UK wrestling scene's been going so far, it's been really, really nice for them to connect and share ideas.
And I have Mixed Knights also wanting to chime in, of course, was with us Monday and says, I hear you say you don't have an agent. Perhaps I could offer my services. Are you looking for an agent? Would you like Mixed Knights to be your agent possibly? Or is this the forum to maybe have an agent?
I could probably have some discussions after this, negotiate percentages and things. So,
well, I'll tell you what. If you're in management, I mean, I'm certainly looking for jobs or certainly to help promote Sportswire Radio. So, I mean, we're certainly in business and we do have resources on Sportswire Radio. So, if you did want to message me off the air, I certainly, as they always say, let's make a deal. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, I second that Richard has fantastic management chops because, of course, Mixed Knights obviously is certainly the society works well with them together. So those are good points. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy also says, got a decent pair of lungs. We should duet. Do you want to do a duet with the lawman Kyle Kennedy? Are you interested in duets? I mean, certainly that could be.
I'd be up for it. It's just very, very weird to see Kyle Kennedy being nice.
Does the lawman Kyle Kennedy sing? Because I know he's undefeated. Because I've heard Slugger Hampton repeat to the fact that he's undefeated. I've heard other wrestlers reference the fact he's undefeated. But do we know if the lawman Kyle Kennedy sings? Because I didn't ask him that question. I apologize if I didn't do the research. But does he sing for what we know?
Well, he's got a very loud voice of telling people how amazing of a wrestler he is. So if he can do it through the form of singing, then I'm sure he'll be absolutely fantastic.
All right, fair enough. So certainly that could be the case. And I want to get to a couple of comments. I think there's some good questions for you. Is there any difficulty balancing both wrestling and singing? That's a good question.
It was difficult at first because I'm so used to how I do things with organising shows and stuff. So then suddenly now that NSAW's now picking up the pace and like rolling with like regular shows and things, it was difficult at first, but I'm doing a lot better managing time and prioritizing different things. But it's to be honest, I'm always busy, and I think it's my weakness and my strength of just keeping myself busy, because sometimes I can overwhelm myself, but at the same time I like to be busy. I like to keep working and, getting on the grind, so.
No, those are some actually interesting points. I hadn't thought of it that way. And Mixed Knight says, I would happily help promote Sportswire. Well, we can definitely talk off the air because it's not about me right now. It's about Jenny Hayes. I have a good one from Taylor because Taylor also does ring introductions also and ring announcing for Colory Championship Wrestling. And what gives you the best buzz, wrestling or singing?
Ooh.
Well, I'd have to say they answer it in different ways. They give you buzzes in different ways. That's the better way to answer it.
I'll have to say singing is my first love because it's something that I do that's like I was born to do. It. Okay. The way I do singing is how people take to walking. It's just a natural thing. But with wrestling, it does give me a buzz. Especially like suplexing people and DDTing people. It's I mean, there's been to be honest, if it wasn't for MC2, I probably wouldn't have the amazing DDT that I have right now.
Okay.
I remember it was a session where we were training, and he was like, "You know what? Just beat me up. You can get me over."
And I know MC2. So, the fact that he said that, I'm impressed. Wow. Okay.
So, because we were doing like a practice match, and he was like, "You know what? Just DDT me." And then I did it, and suddenly it's just become my signature thing now. So, a little hint of what I have in store as a wrestler.
A hint of what's to come. Certainly, Mick Foley and the double arm DDT. Watch out, because you have nothing on Jenny Hayes, and certainly we'll find out more of that here. And also JPR, I want to give JPR a shout out. Jenny Hayes for life, best announcer of the Swarm, bar none. I would say maybe best announcer, bar none, period. I'm going to go even further with that. So trust me on that. We also say, oh no, not the DDT for Joshua Snow. Also, he says, I find performing at shows addictive. Okay. And also, I got a good one here for you, going on the wrestling end of things, because are there any wrestlers in either NSAW or anywhere in wrestling that you would like to
Ooh.
face in the future? That's a good one.
Now, Bethan's another trainee at NSAW,
Yes. Bethan, and
and
we'll get Bethan on. I
yes,
promise Bethan that I will get Bethan on in the next few weeks. In fact,
mm,
Bethan, I will make sure to message you on Facebook after we're off the air at some point. So I will make a note of that here on Sportswire Radio. You heard it first. We will also bring on Beth Ann Jones in the near and distant future. So, go ahead.
but yeah, Bethan's someone I've been training with in NSAW, and we've got quite a good friendship going, But at
Okay.
the same time, I think we do have like a healthy rivalry.
Mm.
I bring out confidence in her, she brings out confidence in me, and we have both been so desperate to have a match together. And
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I will leave her broken in the middle of the ring. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm. Wait. Time out here. Is that
What?
cool? Say about the belt. Time out here. You just said that you want to have a match with Beth Ann Jones, correct? And you're going to
Yes.
beat her down in the middle of the ring, pretty much. Is that what I just heard?
Yes.
So you'd like to have a match, and you'd like to
Yes.
have that match in nonstop action wrestling. Is that correct?
To be honest, if I didn't have my debut in NSAW, it wouldn't make sense. Like NSAW's the company I want to debut in,
Hmm.
and
And I know
I
that
want.
you're training because I've seen some of that on Instagram. So I guess then I'm going to have at some point down the road Beth Ann respond to that. So I think certainly
Yes.
we heard something here we did not see coming on Sportswire Radio. And the famous words of the vocals of Rob Halford of Judas Priest, it looks like we got another thing coming potentially when it comes to that. And also want to give a mention to Robert DeCaro, also of the Society, who are going to see his brethren in the Society, Remus Caine, come on here in about 45 or so minutes from now. So I'm looking forward to that. And he says, Jenny has definitely given the best Society entrance introductions. I would say the best introductions altogether come from
Yes.
Jenny Hayes. And also Goliath says, I second this. Beth Ann is a big girl, but Jenny is a Swiss Army knife nuclear warhead machine. So, but let me get to Beth Ann, because I got to give Beth Ann a response here, because she deserves a comment. She says, broken, I think you must be mistaken, because it'll be you who will be left broken inside that ring. Would you like to respond, the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes?
The only thing that's going to be broken in that ring is your body and mind, because as
Hmm.
much as I'm very lethal in the ring and quick, my words are also just as sharp, and
Hmm.
I will knock you down a peg.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it seems like something is brewing that we did not expect here on Sportswire Radio. And it looks like here Beth Ann Jones and Jenny Hayes have some type of rivalry. And certainly it seems to be more along the lines of Becky and Charlotte more than anything else that we would have anticipated. So it don't seem like it was Mickey James and Trish Stratus back in the day. It seems more like it's a Becky and Charlotte, where they definitely may not see eye to eye in the ring, or even a Ronda and Becky, or a Ronda and right now could be Liv Morgan potentially. So those are some things to keep an eye on, because something tells me here Beth Ann's going to have a lot to say. But let me get to also Xander Lowe, and obviously Xander Lowe is also somebody that we have to get on here in the future, and maybe take on Leone Rose after the chaos this Saturday. That could be a good matchup, because we're going to see Leone also a part of things in the 30-person Rumble over at GT Ministries after we have wiped the floor with your NSAW boys, or NSAW boys, as you guys call it. And I don't know why I haven't called it NSAW yet, but so my apologies. But would you like to respond to our friends over here at GT Ministries and Xander Lowe?
I'm a big, massive fan of Leonie Rose. I've been watching her at the UKW shows, and she's a phenomenal wrestler. She's very, very dedicated. She's there week in, week out. And she's out. I mean, I haven't really spoken to her an awful lot, but she's also been really, really lovely, and is also another inspiration of mine. So hopefully, once I've got Bethan out the way, maybe Leonie Rose might be my next target.
And I saw Leone Rose in the ring not too long ago in GT Ministries with the head trainer of Nonstop Action Wrestling. That is the wild card Tommy Dillon. So certainly I could see some similarities. So let me ask you a follow-up very quickly then. when it comes to, let's say, Leone being a part of things in the GT Ministries 30-person Rumble. How
Mm.
inspiring is that for somebody like you to see Leone competing up there with the likes of, oh, I don't know, a Gareth Angel, a Bentley, Disciple, and oh, by the way, Disciple and Bentley are coming on tomorrow night, and they're actually facing off with each other, or even guys like Slugger Hampton, or just a long list of talent that are involved in different companies. I mean, Leone's right there with them, and she's got as good
Yeah.
a shot as anybody to win. How inspiring is that for somebody like yourself?
I think it's very inspiring. I'd seen her previously at Blackheart Wrestling when they had a Rumble match as well, and I watched her, and it was a lot of fun to see that there isn't this divide between men and women in wrestling.
Okay.
When I think of wrestlers, I don't see them as like men, women, non-binary, etc. I think it's
Right,
an
right,
even
right,
playing
right.
field. We're all the same people walking into the ring, and we're all the same people walking out of it. So I think to see Leonie Rose in a Royal Rumble with 29 other men, I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm
And
very
I
excited.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to know. I kind of feel like, and we do a lot of sports on Sportswire Radio, but I've always felt like with wrestling, you can almost see that men and women can kind of compete equal with each other because in American football, it's, all due respect, very hard for women to compete with men.
Yeah.
Hockey, it can be done, but it's very difficult. But in wrestling, professional wrestling, you can definitely do it. Now, certainly in a sense, with football around the world, men and women can compete with each other. Basketball, you can certainly do it as well. But I kind of feel like with professional wrestling, that divide between men and women, it's really not quite there. It's really not there anymore. I don't see it to be the way
Mm.
it was. I think that's a healthy thing for
Yeah.
everybody. And also, Beth Ann agrees, saying Leone representing the women in that 30-person Rumble. I think she meant to say that she's representing women as a whole. I think that's kind of more of the
Yeah.
point. So I'll also make sure that's noted. Also, Colin McGregor, who does work over Colory Championship Wrestling, who will be with us here in a couple of weeks because they have their own show upcoming on July the 20th, which we'll be promoting quite a bit here on Sportswire Radio starting next week. So I'm looking forward to having Colin and John Rollinson, the voice of reason. So we'll get to them as well. So thank you, Colin, as always. And I have a good question here from somebody, and I will not reveal that person's name, but you can maybe fill in the blanks if you'd like to at your own jurisdiction. What made you decide to start training? Also, keep up the good work.
Well, in terms of NSAW, I've got friends who do wrestling, and I was doing a bit of like training with them through the summer, and then I'd noticed that NSAW was starting up literally just down the road from my house. I thought, you know what, it's very, very close by. I'll give it a go and see if I enjoy it, and then if I don't enjoy it, at least I know I've tried.
Okay.
So realistically, it was more for just to get healthier, I guess, because obviously we've been in a lockdown for about 2 years, and
Oh my
you know,
God! It's just
my physical and mental health just went like down, and so obviously I then started training at NSAW, and it's, personally, it's done me absolute wonders. I'm a lot healthier, body and mind, and I've also gained a lot of amazing friends along the way as well.
good. You look great.
You
I
know,
tell you what, I would never have known that you had some of those mental, maybe physical
mm,
challenges. I would never have known. But in one sense, and we've been doing this a long time on Sportswire Radio, and I was covering wrestling during the lockdown and the pandemic, especially in the UK end of things. And
mm,
speaking with wrestlers, whether it was an RP Davis, whether it was the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus, the KOW World Champion Two Bit, or Scotty Rock, who I mentioned, or anybody else. That was during when COVID was still a thing, and it was still,
mm,
people were being locked down in England, and it was tough. I mean, speaking with wrestlers, and guys would tell me that, oh, well, I have to go find a place in my garage, and I've got to kind of makeshift weights, and I'm only allowed a certain time to be able to go out, and that's tough physically. And the fact that we are where we are right now, we hope to never go through that again. And
no,
certainly, I think we've learned that locking people down was not the right approach. But we are here on Sportswire Radio trying to get the right approach with Jenny Hayes, the rock idol of the UK. And if you like what you hear from Jenny Hayes, I highly encourage you do give her a follow on Instagram at Jenny Hayes Idol. Also, make sure to follow her on Facebook. Also, Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also follow on Instagram at NSAW Official. Also like their page on Facebook as well. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you like what you hear from Nonstop Action Wrestling, we'll hang on for a little while longer because we'll have on Remus Caine of the Society. And Remus Caine's going to be pulling double duty here for us tonight because he's also going to be at GT Ministries wrestling not once but twice. So it's going to be a busy next few days for Mr. Caine and the Society. So I'm looking forward to getting Remus Caine's side of the things here. So very, very excited about that. And if you like what you hear from us here on Sportswire Radio, I highly encourage that you listen to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportnarium.com/player. And of course, we play music from time to time. We have 2 live DJs that we play all music from all over the world, and anything you like, we try to cover it here on Sportswire Radio. So also give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And we are speaking with the rock idol of the UK. Billy Idol, move on over because Jenny Hayes is the new idol, and she is the new idol of the UK. And something tells me here that she could probably sing White Wedding. She could probably sing The Cradle of Love and Money, 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 and all that stuff there way better than Billy Idol could right now because Billy Idol, well, he's about 66 or 67. I don't, as much as he's in great shape, certainly Jenny Hayes will definitely take the cake. Although you should know, I'll make it chuckle slightly off the topic.
Mm-hmm.
In New York City, we have a sanitation department. And for a while, Billy Idol was actually advertised on the sanitation trucks. For whatever reason, he was wearing this shirt. I forget what it was, but I would always, as I'm doing my work overnight, because I'm a newspaper carrier, I would always see Billy Idol on the sanitation trucks. And I was like, well, what's that going on? And so that was kind of my one Billy Idol footnote there. But we were with Jenny Hayes, and I'm getting all combobulated. So let's move off that topic. But I mean, talk about your music. We have a single that just came out a couple of months ago, and we'll get to the wrestling stuff in a little while again. But I want to promote the music. I know that we have a new single, and speak about the single and how it all took place.
The single I did at the back end of last year. I'd say last year I was spending a lot of time inside, and I'd released an EP, you know, because I'd done all of that through lockdown, and then obviously when things had opened back up again. I think the Prey was heavily inspired by me starting training at NSAW, I think.
Okay.
Because the lyrics are about, you know, going against all the odds and instead of being hunted, you become the predator. And, you know, that was like the whole premise of the song. And I just wanted like a big anthem to start off 2022 with. And just, you know, it's a very powerful song. And that's like the inspiration for it, really. And, you know, I'm a big, massive fan of rock music. So I was listening to a lot of rock music through lockdown as well. And I thought, you know what, once I'm coming back to shows, this is the song that I want to start a show with and tell people who I am. And I'm also planning on having the song's my entrance theme as well.
Okay. So you're doing a Chris Jericho there for us. How he has Judas come out for Fozzy. So I would have thought that would have been a no-brainer anyway because you do perform your own music, and why not? Well, have your own music, and also you don't have to worry about royalties. You don't have to worry about licensing. You could just put it out there, and hey, there's my music, and that's a pretty cool thing. That's going to be a really cool thing, I think, when you make your debut, that you're actually going to come out to your own music. Is that something you've like thought about and said, you know what, wow, I'm actually going to come out to my own music? Is that ever, because most wrestlers obviously don't. I mean, we mentioned Jericho, Scotty Rock, I think, comes out to his own music, but there's very few wrestlers that can say, hey, I came out to my own music that I performed. I mean, that's got to be something you're going to think about, I have to think.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I'm promoting myself as the rock idol, as a singer and a wrestler. So when I come out into the ring, you know, you're going to hear what I have to say through the music, as well as me being in the ring. You know, so I'm covering all areas.
Oh, I could definitely see that. That's why they call you the rock idol of the UK. And when it comes to the song, I mean, you mentioned you were listening to a lot of rock music, and certainly during COVID and the lockdowns. And what were some of the artists that inspired you into coming up with the song?
It's kind of a mix of like different music. I mean, I'm a big, massive fan of the rock band Black Veil Brides. They're like a big,
massive I know them very well. Yep, I know them well.
I listened to their recent album, and that was very, very empowering, and with what I wanted to do. But then I'm also a big, massive fan of groups like you might not know them, but like Passcode and obviously Baby Metal as well. And as much as I love their music, seeing them perform is also like the bonus of being a
Okay.
fan of their music. Because I mean, if you have a look online, like Baby Metal shows and Passcode shows, it's just a big, massive. There's just so much energy and movement and involvement. It's absolutely amazing to see. So having it pictured in my head, and when I put this song together, I thought that's how I picture the stage being when I sing that song.
That's pretty cool, and I would think that the adrenaline and the intensity in those shows maybe inspires you, well, especially in that genre. Because I'm a little familiar with the genre. I couldn't tell you every artist off the
Mm.
top of my head, but I know the genre very well, and I know what it brings to the table. But I would have to think that in terms of that intensity and adrenaline, that also spills over in your everyday life as well. I'd have to think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I say, I'm always keeping busy. Like I can't sit down. I'm always just shaking and like raring to go with doing different things. You know, I'm always coming up with ideas for different things. And like even though I'm still training as a wrestler, there's just like so many things that I'm like picturing in my head of like where I could wrestle, who I could wrestle against, and it gives me that fire to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this one day. I'm gonna keep working hard, and I'm gonna get there.
When it comes, and I know you brought this up at the very beginning, but when it comes to, let's say, some of the fans that you have, because there's no question that you have a following, and it's definitely a following that might be bigger than some in the wrestling world. And I asked Chris Urban this question because Chris,
Yeah,
obviously, he actually played with somebody that most people would know. Almost any idiot would know who they are. That's Vanilla Ice. So I mean, Chris
that's true.
actually he played with Vanilla Ice. So it's like, wow, he didn't play with Vanilla Ice when it was Ice Ice Baby, but he played with him when he was trying famously about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and he was trying to be a hardcore singer and he was doing the Limp Bizkit thing. But make a long story short, Chris and his band, they had a bit of a following, and you have a bit of a following as well. And do you find that, let's say, fans from your music are coming over to wrestling? And is that something that you see the crossover a lot more, or it's two different audiences? What do you see from that?
I do think it's starting to merge because when I first started showing my progress as a trainee, a few of my followers were a bit surprised that I was doing wrestling, but in
Okay.
more of like, wow, that's cool that you're trying to do that. And then a lot of them have come out and said, "Oh, I'm also big fans of wrestling as well." So it's been quite a nice merge of everything together rather than trying to entertain two different set of groups, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah, because again, years ago, like I said, when Chris Jericho started out with Fozzy, and he was one of the first people to really kind of cross over into that. It was almost like it was kind of like nobody really thought that wrestling and music. I mean, there was always music
Yeah,
and wrestling, but nobody really thought that it was almost like a novelty act. Nobody really thought it was going to be something that would take forward. Now
yeah,
you see it in artists, they cross over, it's no problem. I mean, John Cena had a rap album years ago that sold like almost 500,000 records in America. I mean, you think about it, obviously now R-Truth, you think about Mickey James, who we spoke
yeah.
about, Lita. I mean, there's just countless names now where you perform and it's really actually the fan bases are very similar with that. I mean, there's really like a big crossover with that. And also somebody points out to me, let me pull this up here. Sorry, typo.
Yeah.
Uh, what what about the butcher through musician to wrestler? Uh, am I butchering something here and pronunciating? What about the butcher through musician to wrestler? I'm lost on this. Can somebody help me here with this? What about the butcher through musician to wrestler? Can you clarify the question? Because I don't I don't know. Jenny, do I am I missing something here, or do I like?
I don't know who the butcher is, but I think he's probably talking about someone that started as a musician and then went into wrestling.
Okay, yeah, because I was like,
Yeah,
I don't get it. So I mean, if you want to clarify that for me, I'd be happy to do that. I just I'm stumped, and I'm usually not stumped, and I tried out to be for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire famously. So I mean, I'm not stumped very often. So if I'm stumped, that means you really have to be stumped. But in the meantime, you should follow Jenny Hayes Idol on Instagram and Twitter because you can definitely see some great stuff. But I want to go back to music because I want to
Yeah.
talk about something that is baby metal and J-pop, all that stuff, because I'm actually familiar with it because I was telling you this off the air because very famously, one of my favorite bands of all time is a band called Megadeth. You might have heard of Megadeth.
Yeah.
And Megadeth famously had probably their most notable guitarist, other than Dave Mustaine himself, when the most successful era of Megadeth, which was Rust in Peace, Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia, and Cryptic Writings, and well, Risk, I really wasn't a fan of Risk, but those four particular albums, the main guitarist was a guy named Marty Friedman. And
Yeah.
Marty Friedman, arguably, is actually more known outside of Megadeth because he has been into baby metal and J-pop, and he has lived in Japan. I want to say he left Megadeth around 2000, so we're talking about 20 years.
Yeah.
He has been locked in that scene. I believe he married even a Japanese woman. If I'm not, if I'm pretty sure of it, and Simon's got a clarification. I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Marty Friedman. I want to talk about J-pop and baby metal, and I mean, why is it that somebody like a Marty Friedman is so more known when it comes to that audience and that fan base than even a Megadeth? I mean, is it that rabid J-pop and baby metal?
I have to say, I mean, I've been a fan of baby metal for quite a few years, and they really are a really big group.
Okay.
Despite from being from Japan, where a lot of things are quite foreign over there to us over here in the UK and the US. I mean, baby metal. I don't know. I think they brought something fresh to rock music. I think.
Okay.
Because even though people look at them at first and think, "What the hell is this going on?" It is infectious, and even though you don't expect like three girls to be singing and bringing it to rock music, they've been successful with it, and they continue to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing to me because I think I heard Marty say this in an interview because they had asked him, because he always gets asked. I mean, listen, Megadeth,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a heavy metal fan or even a hard rock fan or a thrash metal fan, I mean, Megadeth is right up there. They're one of the biggest bands of all
Yeah.
time. But Marty actually said that, he gets more known internationally, especially in Japan, because of what he's done in that scene. And he talked about basically, he gets asked all the time in interviews about Megadeth. And, he would even say, well, it's like a really, really big deal. And it's just a big scene. And it's just like, it's
Yeah.
just massive. It's just, you would think, like I said, Megadeth has had, gold, platinum, multi-platinum
Yeah.
albums all around the world. But actually, it's that scene of audience that's where he's known most. And also, I got a few more comments I'll get to. So people don't want to hear me talk about Marty Friedman and Megadeth. Let's get to Jenny Hayes. I mean, I could talk about Marty Friedman and Megadeth all day, but they're not here for that. So he clarifies here that the Butcher was in the Every Time I Die. That's the reverse of Chris Jericho. That is who Jenny reminds me of, going from music to wrestling. Ah, I see. Okay, so that makes sense. So basically, that's what he's saying. Kind of the reverse of Chris Jericho. Okay, that makes more sense because I was like, well, what's he talking about? So, and Colin McGregor also says, have a great show Saturday at GT Mitchell. Well, actually, are you going to be there Saturday at the Fountains Church? Am I like missing something?
Sadly, I'm not going to be there, but I do wish all the people who are competing from NSAW all the best of luck. Sadly, I'm unavailable because I'm busy.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell
But-
you for GT Ministries, NSO, and CCW fans, I'll be watching on YouTube. So I'll be available. I'll be around. So I will be in New York, but I will be watching live on YouTube. And you can do that at GT Ministries on YouTube and GT Ministries UK on Facebook as well. But I got a good question from Mixed Nights. And this is, speaking on your musical aspirations, is there anyone that you would love to perform with?
Oh, there's quite a fair few. I'm a big, massive fan of Amy Lee from Evanescence.
Sure, absolutely. I know
She's
Amy
a
Lee very
phenomenal
well.
singer. I'd love to sing with her. And then, obviously, I mean, it seems obvious. I'd love to perform with Baby Metal one day. That would be phenomenal. And then there's also a singer called Lisa who, if you're a big, massive fan of anime, she does a lot of
That was my next question.
openings for.
Yeah, I was going to get into anime next.
Yes,
So.
yeah. So she does a lot of openings for anime, and she's a phenomenal singer. You just have to watch her live, and you're just blown away with how talented she is. So I think those are like the top three singers I'd love to perform with.
I think those are some fantastic singers, and I'll make you chuckle, and I'll probably date myself, although I'm not that old. But Amy Lee, when I think of Evanescence, from 2002 to maybe 2002 to 2004, I think Amy Lee and Evanescence probably was the most played artist that I can think of, at least in the United States. And
Yeah.
there was a station called Fuse, and Fuse, all they used to do was play Evanescence videos. So I think I must have saw I think was it Save Me, I think, from Evanescence. I think I must have saw that video like 20,000 times at least in a given day at some point. So Amy
Mm,
Lee was probably the most, I think, of any female now that's a singer. They're probably inspired most in some way or another. Although I know Evanescence is not quite baby metal, it's not quite
no.
J-pop, it's not quite. It's kind of like at the end of new metal, but
Yeah.
certainly Evanescence is female in terms of a female fronted person. Amy Lee's probably the biggest
Mm,
inspiration. I think it's bar none. So I think that would be something of note as well to keep in mind. But I want to get to anime because I see you on
yeah.
Instagram, Jenny Hayes Idol, and you're performing at all these anime conventions. And I think I had this conversation with someone. I had a friend of mine, and I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and he loved anime, and he loved the
Mm,
music, he loved the scene, and I didn't quite get anime. I mean, I did play a game called Yu-Gi-Oh, so I sort of had some basic understanding of anime, but I could not sit there and watch anime, whether it was on the Cartoon
yeah.
Network or whether it was on here. We have a station called WPIX, and they used to play anime early in the morning on the weekends here back when we were growing up in the mid 2000s, but I never quite got it. But the anime fan base is like rabid. They're devoted, and you're a big part of that in all these conventions. How did you get into that and singing at these conventions and performing? And talk to me about that.
I mean, I don't watch an awful lot of anime as much as I used to, but I think in terms of being a big, massive fan of like the Japanese music scene, a lot of artists I do listen to have had ties with anime. Because a lot of songs from anime, you could play like the first few notes and people will instantly know the song. I mean, there's a song called Gurenge, which is the opening for an anime called Demon Slayer.
Okay.
And that was a song that I'd played at my last show. And as soon as it played, everyone was just excited and singing along to all the words and clapping along. So, I think in terms of being in Japan, I think anime and music does tie together very, very well.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. That definitely makes sense. I see a lot of the similarities. I kind of see the musical taste and such. And also, I stand correct. Somebody messaged me, and I won't say who they were. When it came to the Evanescence song, it was "Bring Me to Life." So that was
Yes.
basically the song "Bring Me to Life." So because again, I wasn't the
Mm,
biggest Evanescence fan. I must admit, but
mm.
I remember that song being constantly played. So I stand corrected. I apologize. Bring Me to Life. But when it comes to these conventions and just performing, does that empowering seeing all those people there and being at these conventions? I mean, that's got to be a pretty neat feat, no?
It is very, very empowering because I mean, a lot of these people that go to these conventions, they don't really have any other space to express themselves. So
Okay.
when they come to these conventions, um, they're in a big, massive space where they have other people that they have common interests with, and just seeing like this little community that they have, it's then been really, really welcoming for me to then be a part of it as well as a performer. And, despite being, I guess, famous, I don't really like to say I'm famous, but when I go to these conventions, I have like conversations with people, and it's really, really nice to have this kind of not like a singer and a fan speaking, but I do think of them as friends as well. So it's really nice and laid back,
So
you know.
I'm gonna make you laugh then. So I've assumed then you signed an autograph or two then in your time.
Um, I don't like to. I mean, no, is it a brag? You know what? I'll brag about it. My last show that I had, I actually sold out of CDs, and
Wow!
yes, and they
Wow!
all got signed. So
Wow, holy fill
it's.
in the blanks. You sold
Mm,
out of CDs. I mean, I haven't heard of an artist, and I've interviewed some bands. I actually have interviewed a band called Headless. They kind of play power metal and heavy
mm.
metal. They're signed to a big label deal around the world. And I've interviewed some different artists throughout the world. And I haven't heard an artist tell me, and I don't know,
Mm.
God knows how long. In fact, we have another band coming on here from the UK at the end of the month who are friends of mine, a little bit more into the grunge scene. That is the Superlatives, and I have not heard of somebody telling me in a long time they sold out of CDs. Wow, I mean
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It was a very strange experience, and it was I don't know, like, I've been doing it for ages, but it's still quite a strange experience, but in a good way, to have people be like, "Oh, can you sign this?" And it's
Wow.
just nice that they've got like a little memento to take home and remember me by, if that makes sense. You know,
Wow,
it's
that's I like I said, I did I thought this would be a good interview for a number of different reasons because I do have a background in music and I'll share it actually. You'll
yeah.
probably chuckle with my background in music. I actually wrote one day, and I said this last time on the air with Chris Urban, and I wrote one day to the band Anthrax. And Anthrax, if you're a heavy metal fan, you'd know Anthrax. And Anthrax are
Oh, yes.
basically they're New York legends, and they're basically in the kind of the big four when it comes to thrash metal bands. And I actually one day wrote to them, and I actually did street team work for them in school, and I did it through Times Square, and they gave me band posters, and they gave me flyers, and I might have a sticker or
Mm,
two somewhere, and so I know a lot about the music world. So when you tell me that you sell out of CDs, that's a pretty big deal. And Mr.
mm,
Snow also tells me Jenny is being quite humble here. I watched one of her recent performances. By the way, he loved it. Well, I would have expected that, right? I mean, I would have definitely expected that. And I was there when she sold out all her CDs. She's definitely very well beloved by her numerous fans. Yeah, you've definitely got a lot more fans than all of us here on Sportswire Radio. I can tell you that much. I mean, so when it comes to like performing in front of all these people, I know
mm.
wrestling's different. I'll get back to the wrestling side here in a few minutes, but when you perform in front of so many people, whether it's hundreds of people or signing these autographs, I mean, is it like, do you get nervous? Is there pressure? I mean, do you think about it? Because I asked Chris this question because, like I said, he was on a bill with Vanilla Ice and E Town Concrete and Hatebreed, actually. And
Mm.
he would say, you just go out and you do it. Do you feel the same way? Do you think about these things before you go out there and perform?
I mean, I've been doing it for quite a long time now, but the advice that I give to anyone is if you're not nervous before a show, you don't have the passion for it. Um, and I wouldn't say I put pressure on myself, but I do have a standard where I'm like, if I don't accomplish this, then I know I've not done my job properly. But I think you have to have nerves, because if you're just going out to a show and you don't have the nerves, I mean, there's nothing to kind of give you a kick up the butt,
Right,
you
right.
know.
Right. Yeah, I would kind of think that would be the case because I would think that almost nerves are a good thing. I always equate it to, and you'll probably chuckle, and everybody else will chuckle when you get ready, like that last week of summer vacation before school, or the last 10 days, and all of a sudden you get those stomach knots, and you go, "Oh
Yeah.
no, it's going to be first date." I kind of feel like that was a good thing because it meant you were thinking about it, and also knew that it was on your mind, and you have to focus, and it's a different thing. So I would figure that. And I was also curious going over to the wrestling side, being a performer. Do wrestlers maybe ask you advice in terms of being in front of a big crowd or performing? And do you ever get asked maybe that type of advice or questions from some of the wrestlers at NSAW?
I've not been asked directly, but I do think I probably have like a bit of influence of how to ready yourself before a match, etc. I mean, I've been backstage at some of NSAW's events, and I've also been backstage at other ones that I've gone to visit as well. And it's just, they're always nervous, you know. I've seen wrestlers like plan matches out and worry about certain things not going right and this, that, and the other. And I said, look, you've got the passion and the drive to do it. Just go out and enjoy it, and just don't overthink it too much. You've laid the groundwork, just enjoy it now.
Sure.
And I think certain matches that I've watched, when wrestlers have overthought things, it's just gone wrong. Whereas if you've just got like a basic framework of how you want the match to go,
Sure.
it then leaves room for you to be more creative with things. Because I mean, I've seen some matches where a botch might have happened, but they've improvised and it's been more entertaining than what they've planned initially.
Well, listen, nothing can be as bad as what it could be when you forget a note on stage or something happens where the guitarist, his guitar gets tuned out or the guitar is
Yeah.
on stage or most famously, the most famous incidents when it comes to a band, it was famous again. I have a lot of knowledge in music, so this is a world I know very well, and it's a famous one that's been told many, many times. There was a brief period, and I'll get to the next comment, but there was a
Yeah.
time where Guns N' Roses and Metallica toured with each other.
Oh,
And I'm sure you've heard the story where all
yeah.
of a sudden, basically, Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose decides, I'm not playing. And all of a sudden, Metallica's playing. And famously, James Hetfield actually gets on fire. And it was riots and it was just the whole thing. So, nothing, if you're a wrestler right now, nothing can be as bad as what happened with Guns N' Roses and Metallica. And also, as a little bonus, because I remember this because I'm from New York, we had Woodstock 3, which nobody talks about Woodstock 3 because there was Woodstock. The original was great, right? Woodstock 2 was still pretty good. It was kind of at the tail end of grunge. But
Mm,
Woodstock 3, it was like Limp Bizkit, Megadeth was on the bill, Korn was on the bill. It was all the bands of the day at the moment. But that was a disaster. Fred Durst, he fought somebody on stage, if I recall correctly. And so if you're a wrestler and you have a bad thing that happens in the ring, nothing can be bad than some of those things that I just can mention.
yeah.
Nothing can be as bad as those things. And I have a good one for you. Do you make the music or the lyrics first? What's your process? That's a good question because I actually was thinking about that. That's a good question.
Um, I do write the lyrics first because as much as I experiment with like how the music sounds, I like telling a story through music first. So the
Okay.
lyrics are the most important part. So I'll write lyrics and then I'll put the music together with it, and then obviously melodies change and things. So I do start off with lyrics first because I've written all my own songs.
That's interesting because there are some artists that they have to put a riff together. There are artists that have to say, well, I have to put the song first and then the lyrics. I mean, obviously everybody's different, every genre is
Yeah.
different, but I mean, generally, because I'm very familiar with the heavy metal rock world, I know that's kind of usually how it works. But a great lyricist, which I'm sure you are, you definitely know the formula. And I wanted to ask, I mean, where can we see you upcoming? What's some upcoming shows where people can find out more information and maybe buy a ticket and see why you're such a great performer?
I've got two shows coming up in August, both in Manchester. I'm going to be performing on the 20th of August on the Saturday at an event called RakuCon. It's a
Okay.
brand new Japanese culture festival. I'm going to be performing in the afternoon,
Okay.
and I'll be having like a little merch table. So if people want to come over, say hi, buy merch, etc., they're welcome to. And then there's also a big after party as well. So there's going to be a big, massive rock party. So I'll be performing there as well. And then the following weekend, on the 28th of August, on the Sunday, I will be performing at another Japanese festival called Doki Doki Festival. And that's an event raising money for Aid for Japan. And the money
Okay.
for that gets donated to the efforts of repairing everything after the tsunami
Oh
after
my God.
2011.
I mean, in Japan right now is going through a lot because obviously
Yeah,
their ex prime minister was assassinated. I mean, oh my God. I mean, just
yeah, awful.
horrific. I mean, just horrific thoughts in the world. I know we can disagree at times, but to kill somebody
Yeah,
is very
yeah,
very, very sad stuff. So Japan is going through a lot there in the world, obviously. So certainly our thoughts and prayers, and obviously on a lighter note, we are speaking with pretty much she is the jack of all trades. She is the rock idol of the UK. And that is Jenny Hayes. In about 10 or 15 minutes or so, and we'll get to Remus Caine. And if you like what you hear from Jenny, again, please do give her a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Jenny Hayes Idol. And before I get to a comment here, I got to ask you, give me the three things that you want people to do at your show. There's a couple of different things. I know one of them is headbanging, but tell everybody
yes.
else who's watching and listening. Tell me what you want people to do when they go to a Jenny Hayes show.
I just want people to just have fun first and foremost. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't know the song because I sing in a mix of English and Japanese.
I noticed
So
that. I was listening to
yes,
some of your stuff, and I was like, "Wow, I have a hard enough time speaking English, and she's singing Japanese." I mean, I know I'm from New York, so it's kind of expected. My English kind of stinks, but I mean, you're singing it in a different language. I mean, God bless you, really.
yeah. So at my shows, I just want everyone to just dance, clap along, headbang. And there's also a big, massive thing that I love at my shows. There's things called pen lights, where
Yes, I noticed that. I
yes.
noticed that.
So if you put them to red, I just want like a sea of red in front of me to showcase, you know, like a united front of people just loving Japanese rock music.
No, listen, I mean, Japanese rock music has come
Mm,
a long way. And
mm,
there was a time, again, I'm dating myself. I'm not old, but I know heavy metal music well. There was one band that people knew from Japan. I'm sure you're going to know what I'm talking about is Loudness. Everybody, when they thought
mm.
Japan, all they thought of was
Yeah,
Loudness. Loudness, they were big. They broke through in the 80s. They had a record deal with Atlantic Records. They were sort of in the rotation for a while, but now it's like, the scene is just massive, and certainly
yeah,
it's amazing. But
yeah.
I got a good one from Mixed Nights. Would you consider maybe a theme for an NSAW? Was that something that you'd like to maybe do in the future?
I mean, my door is open for working with different wrestlers in terms of making their entrance music. I mean, I don't know whether I could give it away just yet, but I am working with a very colourful um, Sammy Blue.
These you said don't
Potentially.
give it away. You gave the wrestler's
Oh, I gave
name
it away.
away.
No, he's too amazing not to mention. He's absolutely lovely, and we're brainstorming ideas of putting an entrance theme together for him. So I'm very excited for that. So maybe,
You should have
you
said
know.
no. You should not have
Oh,
said
I
the name. It would
know,
have been a
I
great
know,
clue.
I know. But to be honest, as soon as I said colourful, I think people already knew who I was talking about.
I was
So.
thinking the lawman Kyle Kennedy. I was thinking the lawman Kyle Kennedy. I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure people looked at me and said no thanks. But I got a good one here from Beth Ann on a lighter note. How hard was the process of earning Japanese? I think she meant to say, how hard was the process of learning Japanese and then singing? Which is a fantastic question, actually.
Mm. It took a lot of time and effort to learn it because it's it's got different meanings in the language compared to English, like different sentence structure and things. So it was very, very difficult to do. But now if I like see a bit of Japanese, I just be like, okay. It's just simple language for me now, really. So
Yeah, I got to be honest. I always tell the story, and I've told this a couple of times here over the past 3.5 years. I took Spanish in school. I want to say from junior high till maybe, I think I was a junior or senior in high school, and I couldn't do the language. So the fact that I have to learn and sing another language, forget
mm,
about it. That would be the old expression. And Goliath was funny here. He says, I was caught between Sammy, Pride, and Champ Rogers when you said color, Jenny. So yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one from
yeah,
Goliath.
that's true.
Love Goliath here. So I want to ask you, obviously, before we get to closing thoughts in terms of NSAR and Fire and Gold, is there any preferences you have in this 8-person tournament? I feel like I got to ask you. I mean, you've seen all this stuff up close, and
Mm.
obviously we've seen the whole thing with Conor Cage and the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and that match will determine who's in the tournament. But anybody in particular you'd like to see in the tournament or anything else of note?
Mm.
Would give your thoughts on it.
I mean, I don't know 100% who's going to be in the tournament as of yet, but oh God, there's like a wide variety of different wrestlers. I mean, not just from NSAW, but from other companies that could come in and, teach Kyle Kennedy and Conor Cage how it's done. It could be any possibility, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Kennedy tries to get a chunk out of Conor Cage because the Golden Boy, everybody seems to want to have a piece of him at the
Yep.
moment.
Dante O'Cara's coming on Monday.
Yes.
He's still talking about it. I mean,
Yes.
certainly the lawman Kyle Disciple made his point heard loud and clear about Conor Cage. A lot of people here have said a lot about Conor
Yes.
Cage.
But I definitely think Conor Cage can bring it. I mean, all of his opponents are very, very loud in saying how they want to decimate him, but Conor doesn't say much back. He proves it in the ring. He shows it through actions.
Yeah, he's one of those that kind of does it by, as the old adage would be, actions rather than words. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, "Do you want him to win?" I'm assuming that's a no, right? You don't want him to win.
I mean, as I say, he's got this winning streak at the moment. So
5-0.
a 5-0. Fingers crossed, it could be a 6-0. But we'll just have to see how the cards fold.
And I got to give a shout out to Supersonic Sammy Blue, who was with us a couple of weeks ago, and he says, "Fellow rocker, how do you do?" Meaning you, obviously.
Yes.
So I didn't
I'm
know
doing it.
Sammy was into the rock music. I did not know that, but maybe I should have did my homework. But
Oh yeah, we've been having plenty of talks about like rock music and how he
is
loves
he
glam
into
rock
also?
and
Is he into baby metal also in J-pop, or what is he like?
probably more glam rock.
Okay.
But I
Yeah, he
mean,
looks like somebody. You said glam rock. He looks like somebody that. Let me take a guess at this. I hope I'm not embarrassing Supersonic Sammy Blue, but he looks like somebody that probably be into like Motley Crue. I'm
mm,
assuming like Poison. I'm assuming Def Leppard. Well, Def Leppard, not so much, but
yeah,
maybe into that kind of genre. Maybe trying to think Skid Row. Maybe I'm probably dating myself a little bit here, but I would when I think of glam, I think of Twisted Sister because they were from New
yeah.
York, but they were very narrow in that more different ways. But I would think that would be some of the glam, but I could be wrong. I could totally be off the case here. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says Supersonic Sammy Blue go away. Goliath says Dante O'Cara has a borderline psychopathic infatuation with Mr. Cage. He wants more than a piece. Trust me. Well, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to plead the fifth on that. But I promise you, I'll ask Mr. O'Cara Monday night after I speak with pro boxing star Mark the Tank Ellens. If he doesn't eat me or beat me up, then I'll certainly ask Mr. O'Cara those questions. And he says I hit the nail on the head. Motley Crue. Yeah, no, listen, Motley Crue. In fact, I think the first CD I ever listened to was Dr. Feelgood. Not in 1989, obviously. It was like 2002 when I
Yeah.
was in school. But that was the first CD I used to listen to. So that would definitely be Motley Crue. When I think of glam metal, they would definitely be at the forefront of that. And
Mm.
says here, rock idol of the UK times glam rocker of wrestling. So those are some things here that are important. Anything else, NSAW, you'd like to add? Anything else that you're thinking about when it comes to NSAW? Anything else that's on your mind? I mean, Tommy Dillon, you have a thought on the head trainer over at NSAW for us?
I mean, I think Tommy Dillon's an absolutely phenomenal trainer at NSAW. He's really brought out the confidence in me to go above and beyond. Because I mean, when I first did the training, at the back end of last year, I remember doing the warm up and nearly dying out of breath. But he's never spoke down. He's always been very, very encouraging to keep trying because complaining about it's not going to get you far. You've just got to keep pushing and pushing. And I've pushed the barriers, and I could probably run rings around a lot of the other trainees now.
Oh,
So
I'm sure you could. And you could certainly run rings through me, to say the least. So I would certainly say I would definitely defer to you at any given time. And certainly Jenny Hayes is going to be somebody that you are going to remember in the wrestling world, in addition to the music world. And what advice would you give to anybody that's an up and coming singer or performer? What advice would you give to them?
um, I'd just be realistic and say it is difficult. I mean, you're going to have a lot of roadblocks, whether it's people throwing rubbish at you or telling you that it's not a worthwhile um thing to go down, but just keep working hard. Any creative ideas you've got, don't be afraid to share them, because I mean, if I wasn't prepared or confident enough to do what I'm doing now, I wouldn't be on stages and I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
No,
So
I'm
you
small
know
potatoes. I'm a nobody.
no.
But the world out there, those are the big people. Listen, we're just little old me here, little old Tom Bryce, but you're actually out there and signing autographs, selling CDs, touring. I mean, listen, you're famous. I mean, listen, I think Mr. Snow hit the nail on the head. You are very humble, but you also are very
Mm,
famous. So certainly you definitely hit all those points. And also Supersonic Sammy Blue says, give me Jenny versus the lawman Kyle Kennedy. I knew who I'm rooting for. Well, I mean, we'll stay tuned. Maybe one day here, maybe
mm,
one day. But right now, we'll certainly be lucky to have Jenny Hayes with us. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, I am not afraid to put a woman in her place. Look at what I did to you and your pals at Summertime Slaughterhouse, meaning obviously Supersonic Sammy Blue and the gang. So the lawman Kyle Kennedy, listen,
mm,
but he's going to have a lot to say for sure, because he is going to be with Slugger Hampton of CCW. And Slugger Hampton, if you've seen him, he's a big man right now in a foul mood, and he's got a lot in his plate. And something tells me that the lawman Kyle Kennedy and Slugger Hampton, that's going to be vicious. I mean, certainly
Oh
Mr.
yes.
Kennedy, and Mr. Kennedy is also going to want to stay tuned here in a few minutes because we will be getting to, of course, Remus Caine here for the first time. I'm excited about that one actually. So,
Mm.
and Goliath says Jenny would stomp a. He says stamp. I think he meant to say stomp a mud hole, and the lawman Kyle Kennedy and walk it dry. If that's possible, I haven't tried that, but maybe Jenny
Mm.
Hayes will do that
You
for
never
us.
know.
But Jenny, I wanted to ask you then two last questions before I get to closing
Yeah.
thoughts. The first one here is, I know you've had a lot of moments in music, and I'm sure that there's going to be many more ahead. But I always like to ask this question to people that have had success like you: is there one or two moments that stand out most in your music career so far?
Um, I did have a big, massive moment last year. I actually nearly got signed to a music label in Italy.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Let
it's
me
called
think. Frontiers.
No, it's more. It's a very, very niche one. They do have two groups, very heavily inspired by alternative Japanese music.
Okay.
They're called Monster of Dolls, and
Okay. Because I
they're
know we do work with I think it's Grand Royal. You ever heard of Grand Royal? We do
mm,
work with them. There's a publicist I happen
mm,
to know. So I was trying to
yeah.
think about that. Okay.
Mm.
So talk about that.
They were opening up auditions for a new member of a group, and I actually made it to the final four.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So that was quite. It was it was very not daunting, but it was very like, whoa, this is amazing. So sadly I didn't make it, but it definitely gave me the drive to be like, you know what, I could do it.
No,
So
I think you can. I
you
mean,
know,
listen, if you made it that far, you made it to
mm,
Italy. Wow. I mean, that's a
yeah,
pretty cool feat there. I mean, that's like wow. I mean, I've
mm,
interviewed a lot of different people, and that's actually a pretty cool feat there. Wow, that's a big deal. But I'm sure you'll have bigger moments ahead because
yeah,
only will get better from here. And as they always say, it's a rising tide that'll lift all boats.
yeah,
And something tells me here that you'll have that.
mm,
Then I want to ask you here, and also the lawman Kyle Kennedy says here, I know for sure Jenny would give me a better fight than anybody else, and so pipe down, meaning I think he's talking about Goliath, but.
uh
Well, Goliath's got his own issues. He's got to worry about Gareth Angel, and the lawman Kyle Kennedy's going to be speaking with Slugger Hampton next Thursday. So these guys are going to be busy. So we'll see at another time, other place. But I want to ask you this last question when it comes to your wrestling career and everything else that's going to come here. What are your goals in professional wrestling?
My goal right now is just to keep going with how I've been doing with training. I've progressed a lot further than I thought I would have done,
Okay.
because I've been doing it for less than a year. But my personal goal would be to try and debut, hopefully by the end of the year. If not, maybe in January when it's my birthday. So that'd be quite a fun birthday treat if I have my own debut match. That'd be
Wow. I mean,
that'd be
I
quite
could
good.
not think of a better birthday than that here. Jenny
Mm,
Hayes. I mean, you are the rock idol of the UK, and certainly that would be quite a birthday present. So, certainly, I
mm,
hope you get that birthday wish. I mean, that would
fingers
be
crossed.
something that well, I'm sure you'll get it. Something tells me
Yeah.
here that all the effort you put in, I hear a lot of great things about you in the wrestling end. Obviously, I've gotten a chance to listen to your music stuff, and we know your music stuff is great. And obviously, I have a very good feeling that I'm going to have you back on here, certainly in the near and distant future. Well,
Yeah.
if you're not out there touring, I mean, you might get a record deal, you might be touring, you might be doing all great things here. But I want to give you the floor now. I want to give you some
Yeah.
closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, share, say, and it has certainly been a tremendous honor, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing you here in the near and distant
Mm.
future perform and do great things. And I give you the floor. Anything else you want to plug, say, share, and I can't thank you enough. And the floor is yours.
Just follow me on all of my socials. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube under Jenny Hayes Idol. So if you want to follow me on there, you can. I also have all of my music online, like Spotify, Apple Music.
Bandcamp also we're on.
Sorry?
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, I'm on Bandcamp as well, jennyhayes.bandcamp.com. There's also my website, jennyhayesidol.com, where you can keep up to date with any news as well as purchasing merch there if you'd like. And yeah, I'm very, very excited for my upcoming shows as well. And just keep an eye out for socials, because I mean, I'm constantly releasing singing covers on YouTube. and I'm planning on more original music. So if you follow me on there, just keep up to date with everything, and fingers crossed, hopefully more wrestling content alongside that as well.
I got a good feeling about that, and I can't wait for the original stuff because listen, the covers are great, and I
Yeah,
know people cut their teeth on covers, but I think original music is really where an artist or a performer
yeah,
really cuts their teeth in. So I think that there's going to be a lot of great things, and Bandcamp is an important source for artists to get their music out there.
yeah,
Also, Reverb Nation is another one out there. I don't know if you're on Reverb Nation or not, but that's also an important one. So there are definitely some music sources that you can find Jenny Hayes and all the great things that she does. Also, Jenny Hayes Idol, JennyHayesIdol.com, and all the great things that she is doing. And of course, NSAW Official for
yes.
all the great things that we're going to see her on. So it has been a tremendous honor, Jenny. And I look forward to speaking with you in the near and distant future. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank
I
you.
know that I'll never be half the person you are at ring introduction work and also vocals, but keep up the great work. I hope to have you on here in the near and distant future. And thank you for the opportunity and can't wait to see you in the ring soon.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I mean, I've been nervous but excited to be on.
Ah, you shouldn't be nervous. Listen, I speak with people from all different parts of the world, all different things, and I'm the one that gets embarrassed all the time. So trust me, don't feel too bad. But I do want to thank you, and I will now going to bring on here. So I'm going to remove you because I actually got to get to him because he's here with us. That is Remus Caine of the Society. Thank you, Jenny, and we are going to bring him on right now, and he is making his debut, and we're going to get to see him actually a couple of different times at GT Ministries because he's going to be in a match and he's also going to be in the 30-person Rumble. And he is also 1/3 of the Society, which I put it out there, and I think Mr. Mixed Knights actually put it out there, that it is the most dominant and is the well-known group of NSAW. So with further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here from Non-Stop Action Wrestling and 1/3 of the Society, and that is Remus Caine. Mr. Caine, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Just can't wait until Saturday arrives. I'm just waiting for that day.
It's a big day, I gotta tell you, and I think it's a big day for the Society because I kind of feel like here that almost in a sense we kind of touched upon it with Mixed Knights that the battle lines are now being drawn a little bit here in Non-Stop Action Wrestling and other companies, and I kind of feel like right now this is where the Society really gets put on the map here. Your match, the 30-person Rumble, and I kind of feel like right now that it's going to be a big week ahead for you. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
My thoughts on that, you referred to it as a battle line that's been drawn. There's no battle that's happening here. Battle would suggest that two sides are equal in this confrontation. The moment that you put the Society in a confrontation with anyone, you have immediately tipped the scales in the Society's favor. There is no battle. It'll only be annihilation when I get in that ring.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, here, a strong start for Remus Caine. He is certainly making a strong debut here on Sportswire Radio. And we have seen him here in places like UKW, where he's definitely made his presence felt. And, of course, in NSAW, Non-Stop Action Wrestling. And I'm excited to have him on here. And Mixed Knights says, represent us well, Remus. Any thoughts on that? And also the role that Mixed Knights has played for us here and NSAW for you guys? I mean, any thoughts that you'd like to share on Mixed Knights?
Let me tell you something about Richard Knights.
Yes.
Richard Knights knows a lot more than you think they do. They have a lot more influence beyond Non-Stop Action Wrestling. If you think their influence just stops there, you really don't know them.
I don't think I do, and that's why we have you on here to kind of give us the score here. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and I have to ask you about him because I wouldn't be doing my job, right? Because the lawman Kyle Kennedy has been on quite a bit, and obviously we spoke about the Society with you, and obviously you've been mentioned quite a bit. Now we've got the lawman Kyle Kennedy in a stream here in a comment. And what's your impressions been so far with the lawman Kyle Kennedy as 1/3 of the society with you and Robert DeCaro? What's your impressions been of him so far representing you guys?
When I first approached Kyle Kennedy, we approached him because we knew he could add something to the society. Sheer strength, raw power, and that brutality that we seek in everyone that we want as part of the society. I'll admit, come summertime Slaughterhouse, I was not happy with him from the actions at Exordium when he cost us the match against the Northern Warriors, Tommy Dillon and LRB. But with the victory at Summertime Slaughterhouse and his victory against Mikey Future, he's more than earned my respect once more. He is our powerhouse for a reason. He is our lawman for a reason. And I find it a crying shame that none of us are represented in this tournament that's coming up on the August 13th. I find it a crying shame that Kyle Kennedy has to go up against Conor Cage just to try and get a spot that all three of us should already have. But the opportunity's there.
Well, I want to ask you about that in terms of your overall impressions when obviously the lawman Kyle Kennedy is undefeated. And I have a comment in a second, which I actually want to get to from GT Ministries. So I do want to get to the GT Ministries comment in a second, as I have to obviously get to them because they support us on Sportswire Radio. But why do you think that the lawman Kyle Kennedy had a hard time in terms of getting a shot in this tournament, yourself and Mr. DeCaro? Because especially after NSAW Asylum, where we saw at the end of it, where after the Mikey Future match, you and the lawman Kyle Kennedy were united. And it seemed to me as if you guys are more dominant than ever, especially after his victory. But why do you think that management has kind of ignored putting you guys in the tournament so far?
Because we don't conform to their standards. We play by our rules, not theirs. We set the rules wherever we go. We don't listen to anyone else. They don't have the authority to tell us how we should live our lives and what we should do. Now, it's their company. They can do whatever they want. They just can't tell us no.
Okay, that's certainly fair points here. And of course, if you want to follow Remus Caine, please give him a follow on Instagram at therealremuscaine.society. That is therealremuscaine.society. Also like his YouTube page where you can find content, prior matches. Also like his page on Facebook. But let me get to GT Ministries because I actually want to segue into them because you're going to be a huge part of things there, my friend. And GT Ministries says, we look forward to welcome you into a GTM ring this Saturday, Remus. Who do you have your eyes on in the Rumble? That's a great question. So, who do you have your eyes on in the Rumble? Oh, okay. Slugger Hampton. Now, I'm sure because of the comments maybe laid out by Mixed Knights, and that'd be fair to say, maybe the back and forth between Slugger and the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Is that something that you saw and heard quite a bit?
I couldn't give less of a damn as to what Slugger Hampton was saying. I take offense at a certain nickname that he gives himself. A devil? I don't care what the rest of the title is. The moment you put that is your name, that says that you are something more than a man. You are something more than a wrestler. You are something beyond. I know what this looks like. And they don't look like failures like you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, very, very strong words there related to Slugger Hampton. So you're not really also worried about his group that he's a part of called Top Tier in CCW that's been basically running roughshod over their company. You're not concerned about them, correct?
Wherever we go, we dominate. Top Tier will just be another little hurdle that we will smash through. That's all they are. A hurdle. And I don't care how talented they are. They can be as talented as they want. I will never take away the talent of someone. But they are nothing compared to us. And if they want to prove it against us, name the time and the place.
So would it be fair to say that they're not top tier until they face off with the society?
Not one bit. I said it before, and I'll say it again. They are top tier until they face the society.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, certainly could be a segue of things to come on Sportswire Radio and certainly Nonstop Action Wrestling and CCW. And coming back over to GT Ministries, because obviously management here is obviously tuned in and I want to make sure I get to management. You are going to be a part of an interesting match. It's an NSAW showcase. It's a 6-man tag team match, and it's involving yourself, Gung Ho Muttley, and the head trainer of Nonstop Action Wrestling, Tommy Dillon, who obviously you kind of touched upon here a few minutes ago. So that's a very, very interesting dynamic there. And you'll be squaring off against Connor Cage, who I think everybody has Connor Cage on their minds in some way or another. Champ Rogers, the super dad, who was in a stream a couple of weeks ago with the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and Supersonic Sammy Blue, who also was in a stream here a couple of weeks ago, and he's been battling it out with you guys. So, I mean, what do you make of this showcase match Saturday night here at the Fountains Church? And just overall impressions. And I almost have to ask, I mean, how are you going to coexist with your tag team partners, Tommy Dillon and Gung Ho Muttley?
Coexisting with Muttley is easy. Because SC2 and Gung Ho Muttley, we have a standing of sorts. But Gung Ho, if you are listening, you seem to be losing your edge ever slightly. You seem to be pandering to people more often than I find now. I don't know why that is. Where's this man in the head of these necessary? You better bring that man to GD Ministries. I won't have
Well, we're having a little bit of...
wrestling.
There you go. Well, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, and I apologize on that. I'm trying to hear what you just had to say, because for whatever reason, I lost you there a little bit. So I'll try to parcel that back off. But in the meantime, I'll get to a few comments. And we get one from Supersonic Sammy Blue. It says, my makeup is better, less drippy. Okay, well, I'm not going to compare makeup, but that could be for things here for another conversation. Oh, hey, Remus from J-Ro. You want to respond to that?
Hello, J-Ro. You're watching. That's all I say.
Okay, that certainly makes a lot of sense there. And Jenny Hayes says Remus will definitely make his mark with his TKO. Talk about the TKO for us. I think I lost your mic here, Mr. Caine. You might want to come back in and come back out because for whatever reason, I'm not hearing anything. So we're going to come back, ladies and gentlemen, and wait for Remus Caine to come back on here on Sportswire Radio because we are having some technical difficulties with him. So we apologize for the delay on that, and certainly we want to hear what he has to say. So we'll certainly bear with him on that. So we apologize for the delay with him on that. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. J-Ro also says, Remus knows who I am and what I'm capable of. Do you want to add anything else, J-Ro, that I'm missing that I should ask Mr. Caine until he comes back? Because I certainly have no problem doing that here. So certainly we are waiting for the return of J-Ro and certainly everybody else here involved. So if you do in the meantime like what you hear from Nonstop Action Wrestling, I highly encourage that you do give them a follow on Instagram at Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also give them a like on Facebook at Nonstop Action Wrestling, YouTube as well. Also GT Ministries, because GT Ministries has an upcoming event Saturday night at the Fountains Church, and I'll be promoting that quite a bit because tomorrow night we will have on Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, at 8 o'clock, and then right afterwards, 8:30, Disciple and Bentley in a face-off. Now, will we have Remus Caine back with us here? So it looks like, Mr. Caine, I hope that your internet's a little bit better right now, and can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Much better. That's much better. That sounds a lot better. So I'm glad that that's the case. So I want to try to get back to where we were, and I did want to ask you because I didn't get a chance to hear your answer. So let me repeat. In terms of Saturday night, obviously you're going to be on the side of things for now with the wild card Tommy Dillon and Gung Ho Muttley. And how are you guys going to coexist against the team of Connor Cage, Supersonic Sammy Blue, and Champ Rogers?
I'm willing to put my differences aside when I work with Tommy Dillon. As much as I hate him, as much as I want to rip him apart, I'm willing to put my differences aside. Because on the other side, you've got Champ Rogers, that lump of lard that runs around thinking that he's God's gift. And then you have Sammy Blue. Sammy Blue, that so-called blue warrior, or whatever he is that he's called. I couldn't care less. If anything, all I want to do is wrap my hands around his throat. And as for Connor Cage, I actually like Connor Cage.
Really? You like Connor Cage?
Quite a bit. Yes,
I'm surprised.
It's not popular opinion. He's got something in him. Something that just resonates with a warrior like me. I don't see myself as a wrestler first. I see myself as a fighter, a warrior, a soldier. And I see that same spark in Connor Cage. That spark that I always try and find, and he has it.
Okay, so let me ask you something here, because you said something that's very interesting, and I'm taken back by it, and maybe some who are fans of nonstop action wrestling are taken back by it. So, Connor Cage, you said you respect, you like him. So I almost have to ask this question here, and I mean, would he down the line one day, if maybe he saw things differently, and if you liked him and respected him, is he somebody that could maybe be, I don't know, a society candidate, or somebody that maybe after having some of the qualities that you share, is he somebody that maybe you could mold and show him a different light, and maybe that's what he needs?
Let me answer it like this. If we wanted to, we could do it to anyone. Allow me to use an example in Robert DeCaro. I'm sure you've seen the video on my channel, Mr. Bryce.
He was a referee at one time, even well before that.
Yes, he was. He had that spark that we look for, but he wasn't willing to go as far as he needed to. He was willing to stay in second place. I molded him into what he needed to be. Now, some people would call it barbaric, what I did to him. But DeCaro is a better man than he ever was before. And I can do that to anyone. I could even do it to you, Mr. Bryce. But I've been told not to.
Well, why not?
Respect.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Don't want to know.
All right, maybe I don't want to know, but I will say that if you are recruiting more members, let's just say I am a fan of the lawman Kyle Kennedy, so let's just say that, who knows? Listen, never say never, as they will say. So listen, you can't rule anything out, but I want to get to a couple of comments, and I think you might actually be interested to find out what they are. So Goliath says, Remus Caine, let's cut a truce for Saturday. Let's put our differences aside and stay out of each other's way in the Rumble. If we have to fight, however, say final two, I wish you luck only because you are also carrying the flag of nonstop action wrestling. What's your response to that?
Goliath, I didn't think that you'd be around, but here you are. You haven't given anyone else that offer, have you? You didn't give it to Connor Cage. You didn't give it to Sammy Blue or Champ Rogers or anyone else. No, you gave it to me. And why is that? Is it because you see me as a threat? Is it because you see me as someone who can go toe-to-toe with you? You don't even think the same of Gareth Angel, but you think that of me. You know what? I'm willing to leave my hands off of you, because if there's one thing I would love more than anything is to get my hands on you in one-on-one action. Because I don't know if I would win that match. I don't know, and that excites me. It excites me not knowing if I'm going to be able to defeat someone, because it makes it so much sweeter when I do.
Interesting perspectives there. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, we like you, you're safe, you need not to worry. Well, listen, I'm always worrying, but hey, that's here nor there. But enough about me. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Mixed Knights, on the other hand, we want to hear what Mixed Knights has to say. Connor Cage would make a very interesting addition. The Golden Boy, broken, beaten, reformed into something better. Why does that sound like a Metallica song from Death Magnetic? But that's here nor there. But what's your reactions to what Mixed Knights had to say?
Just say the word, Richard. I'll make it happen. Just say the word. You know that I'm good for whatever you want. If you want Connor Cage in the society, if you want anyone in the society, well, you only need ask. Because that's what happened with Kyle Kennedy and Robert DeCaro. So just say the word, Richard. Say the word.
All right, so those are some interesting words there. And let me get to somebody else that you might want to hear what they have to say, and that's Xander Lowe. Remus, you'll just be a flash in the pan at numbers on Saturday when you are looking up at the lights from outside of the ring. Would you like to respond to that?
Who are you? I don't know who you are. If I don't know who you are, you don't matter to me. So get off the comments and leave it to the professionals to speak to me.
All right. Certainly something tells me here that Xander Lowe will continue to be with us. And young Horace, who has been with us here, and young Horace, obviously, he's got the other streak right now. The lawman Kyle Kennedy is undefeated, and young Horace has, well, he is certainly 0-4, fill in the blanks. Young Horace, though, in the meantime, says, I owe you a butt kicking. Would you like to respond to that?
You know, young Horace, I actually quite like you, because despite the fact that you keep losing, you keep coming back. With a streak like yours, anybody else would have just retired. But no, you kept going. And yes, I account for 2 of those losses. One where you decided to chase after me when I was the around-the-clock champion, and another one, which I find more impressive, when you decided to go in a 2-on-1 handicap match against myself and Robert DeCaro. Nobody else has the manhood to do that. Nobody else has decided to take it to us like you did. If you think you owe me an ass-kicking, you know where you can find me. I'll be waiting in the ring, boy. I'll be waiting
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, certainly that could be maybe round 3 between young Horace and Remus Caine. And Robert DeCaro is here with us. And of course, I have to get to your brethren here in the society. He says, rise the society. That's what's going to be said this Saturday. I tell you what, it could very well be the case, right? It could very well be the case. You have a very strong chance in the Rumble, and I think in that 6-man tag, I think I like your chances with Tommy Dillon and Gung Ho Muttley. I mean, you guys got a very, very good chance there. But I have to get to Connor Cage before I get to some other people, because Mr. Cage wants to respond. He says, I've been defined by the likes of others, but never again, not by AOG, and certainly not the society. Would you like to respond to that?
Then you clearly do not know what society is about. It's not about us defining you. It's about us releasing you. You don't have to be this shell of a person that wanders around not knowing what purpose they have in life. We can give you that purpose. We can make you better. Better than you ever would have been before. That's what we are about. We are called the society for a reason. We're not here to just bully people and bully people into submission. No! We are here to make people better. That's what we're about.
I'll tell you what, you need to be following the Society of Nonstop Action Wrestling. But I got loads of comments, so let me try to work some of them in here because I'm behind. Goliath says, Remus, I do see you as a powerful opponent, and I know enough to know that out of the Nonstop Action Wrestling members at GTM this Saturday, we have the best chance of winning at the end of the day. If I fall, I would still want to see Nonstop Action Wrestling win, no matter the cost. Do you share that same sentiment?
Perhaps. I would much rather see someone from Nonstop Action Wrestling become the number one contender than a certain Gareth Angel.
Well, Mr. Angel, I'm sure then when he's in the ring with Goliath, I'm assuming then you'll be rooting for Goliath for this particular moment Saturday night at the Fountains Church in Bradford?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's all that I need to say. If I were to go on about all the things that I dislike about Gareth Angel, you would have me speaking for months on end. And I mean months on end.
Fantastic. And let me get to some more comments. And Mixed Knight says, Young Horace, the society would certainly give you the strength to break that streak of yours. Yeah, I mean, that streak is certainly a streak that some would have feelings on. And Jenny Hayes says, Remus doesn't mince his words. He doesn't say it. He proves it. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says the society will be there in numbers this Saturday, whether it's in or outside the ring at GTM. Is that revealing anything by any chance? Is that is the lawman Kyle Kennedy tipping his hand, or is there something I'm missing?
I don't know what you mean at all, Mr. Bryce. I don't know what you mean at all.
All right, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. That's why I'm trying to figure this out here on Sportswire Radio. And if you do like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, you can continue to give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And let me get to a comment that you're going to appreciate, actually, that you should know about. I would have to agree with Remus. Angel does need his wings clipped. Well, I mean, certainly it very well could be the case. I mean, what do you think?
Gareth Angel is nothing more than a sanctimonious puppet of his own organization. Someone I would love to tear down, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. He is the exact opposite of what we are in the society. He cares only about elevating himself, whereas the society, we care about elevating humanity. Gareth Angel is everything we stand against. He might be one of the most dominant forces in GT Ministries, but that's because I'm not there yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we heard the first shot fired because Mr. Caine, I have to let you know that Mr. Angel, for whatever reason, the bat signal is going off because he is now ready to respond. And Mr. Angel says, speak of the angel, I'll give you all the time in the world to say what you want to say to my face on Saturday. You ready to say it to his face Saturday night? Because I'll be watching live on YouTube. I'll be watching.
Why do I need to say anything when the first thing that I'll be doing is gunning straight for you when I see you in the ring, Mr. Angel? You best not be eliminated before then. I want to see you in that ring. I want to prove you are nothing more than a sham!
I think certainly Mr. Angel is going to have his work cut out for him Saturday night because he's got Goliath, and something tells me here Remus Caine is going to find him in the Rumble, and Mr. Angel is going to definitely have his work cut out for him. And GT Ministries UK on Facebook is where you can watch Ready to Rumble. Also GT Ministries on YouTube. Also GT Ministries UK on Instagram and Twitter for your coverage of all things related to GT Ministries. And Robert DeCaro says, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you love us or hate us. The society is the future of professional wrestling. Well, I'll tell you what. You guys are certainly one of the premier groups in all of professional wrestling. The Bloodline have nothing on you guys right now. But I do have to get to another individual that does want to comment. But first, let me get to the lawman, Kyle Kennedy, because he has thrown his shot at Mr. Angel. He says, you will be humbled Saturday, Mr. Angel. Trust us. Boy, I can't wait to see something go down at the Fountains Church in Bradford. I can't wait. Listen, I'm turning my phone off that evening. I'm making sure that nobody bothers me. If you knock on my door, I'm not answering. If you're going to call me, I'm not picking up. I'm just telling you, where you're going to find me is on YouTube at GT Ministries or GT Ministries UK on Facebook watching this stream, because Remus Caine right now, look at this man for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this man. Look at the game face he has on right now. Would you want to mess with this man right now? Would you want to be in the ring across from him? Look at the damage that this man could do. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy right now that he's willing. Tommy Dillon might be a wild card, but he might be a wild card when it comes to this 30-person Rumble to crown the number one contender to Jack Johnson's championship coming up in September. I know one thing's for certain. Jack Johnson's reign of terror as champion in GT Ministries is coming to an end. Whether it's Remus Caine or somebody else from Nonstop Action Wrestling or anybody else, his reign of terror and his Sulfur chants, they're coming to an end. That's what I know for sure. And it very well could be Mr. Caine who's going to end that reign of terror. But there's an individual, I guess, that's tipping his hand here and says, I haven't forgotten you, Remus. The Killjoy still wants his revenge. And I should remind you that the Killjoy is coming on live Friday night, 8 o'clock, British Standard Time. So if you'd like to fire a shot or two at the Killjoy so he can get the chance to respond, you can go first right now.
Well, for those who aren't aware of what happened, myself and Killjoy here, we had ourselves a little match, a last man standing match, not too long ago, and he lost.
He did.
Lost,
that he did.
Ladies and gentlemen. But I'll give him this. He's tough, very tough. He reminds me of Conor Cage a little bit. Not quite. Not quite, though. I remember when he had me tied up in the ropes, and he had that kendo stick in hand, and he struck not once, not twice, not thrice, not 4, 5, 6, 7. He hit me 32 times on my back, and it still didn't take me down. He lost. I drove him through tables, I hit him with chairs, I hit him with kendo sticks, I hit him with everything, and then I hit him with my final rights, and done! He was done.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That's all I can say.
if you just heard what I just heard on Sportswire Radio, Remus Caine just described how many times he was hit with a kendo stick, and he still didn't go down. He still wasn't down for the count. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Gareth Angel, I know Gareth Angel, and I've had Gareth Angel on. I got a Gareth Angel comment related from management here in a second from Mixed Nights. But if Remus Caine didn't get knocked down over 30 times from a kendo stick, wait till what he does at the Fountains Church. Do you think that he's realistically going to be thrown over this Rumble? I tell you what, I got to put him in the discussion right now, because he got hit 30-plus times with a kendo stick, and he still didn't get pinned. I mean, I could think about all types of people who've used the kendo stick. The Sandman comes to mind. Steve Blackman, a Lethal Weapon. And yet none of those people had done what Remus Caine was done. And on top of that, Remus Caine is still standing. So, ladies and gentlemen, he is definitely a man on a mission. And Goliath seems to be agreeing because he says, Remus Caine, your desire to destroy Gareth Angel is telling. I'll make sure to leave you the scraps of the broken shell of the man he once was. So that's very nice of Goliath. Goliath is being very gentlemanly-like because he's going to beat him just enough so when you get through with him at that Rumble, Gareth Angel will never hear of him again.
Make sure to leave enough of him for me to at least fight him. I don't want to feel like as if I'm fighting scraps.
All right, fair enough. And Mixed Knights also points out here, Mr. Angel, would you consider a trip to Non-Stop Action Wrestling to have a face-off with Remus Caine? Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, I think we heard a mic drop. I think we heard a pipe bomb. You thought Monday's announcements were a big deal? I think I just heard that Mixed Knights is proposing to Gareth Angel August 13th. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's an event at Be Strong Fitness in Swinton at the Performance Center, a home of Non-Stop Action Wrestling, that we could very well see maybe Gareth Angel and Remus Caine. I mean, Mr. Caine, would you like to be in a match August the 13th, let's say, Fire and Gold against, I don't know, Gareth Angel?
That would bring nothing but joy to my heart. But even if it isn't August 13th, and I do so want to be a part of that tournament, if I am not, and if Gareth Angel isn't, well, there's always October. We're going to have another one. From what I hear from Richard Knight, another pay-per-view in October time.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
Near Halloween. You know, maybe the makeup and the attire gives it away, but I have a certain love for Halloween, and I would love for nothing more than to get Gareth Angel down to Non-Stop Action Wrestling and show him firsthand just what Remus Caine and the society is all about.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't following Non-Stop Action Wrestling after this, you clearly need to have your head examined. You need to follow them at NSAW Official on Instagram. You also need to like their page on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube page, and also, most importantly, The Real Remus Caine .society. Follow this man. I'm telling you. David Lee Roth famously sang, show me your bright lights, your city lights. Well, I think instead Remus Caine is going to be showing Gareth Angel the lights up from the ceiling, 1, 2, 3 at NSAW, one of their next shows. That's what I have a feeling of in the very near and distant future. Stay tuned for all of that here. And also, Robert DeCaro chimes in here and says, I find it funny that Mr. Angel purposely made sure that the society were not together on Saturday. Kind of shows he's desperate because he knows he would show no mercy at GTM. That's an interesting point because, to be objective here, and we'll get the Disciples' perspective on it tomorrow night because he's had his own issues with Mr. Angel and many other people. Slugger Hampton has talked about Mr. Angel. Do you feel like, in a sense, let's say from afar, that maybe Mr. Angel knows that his power in GTM and his spot, maybe it's kind of dwindling, and maybe he knows that his time is coming to an end, and maybe that this is a move to maybe kind of keep himself in power and keep himself in the spotlight? Do you think that's a fair observation?
You could never split up the society, Mr. Bryce. What, you think that there are only 4 of us in the society? That would be a very small society if that were the case. You never know if some of these commenters on your live stream are a part of the society. The person that you walk down the street with, it could be a member of the society. The person running the trains on the subway networks, They could be a member of the society. But you'll never know until we reveal them. That's the thing. We're not just a local movement. We are a global movement. You can't keep us away from each other. We could be in the audience at GTM on Saturday, and you would never know unless they show themselves.
Well, I would remind you, Mr. Caine, that actually I wouldn't be surprised if I would run into people who could be in the society because, as I've pointed out a couple of different times on Sportswire Radio, my next door neighbors are dead people. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are millions of society members living right next to me because my neighbors are dead. So, I mean, those are very well could be points. And Jenny Hayes points out is this Remus in a happy mood or a cranky mood? It can be hard to tell through his game face. I mean, that's why he's got a game face. That's why they call it, Jenny, a game face here. Beth Ann says, will we see the numbers game come out at Fire and Gold regarding a certain tournament should Mr. Kennedy even get his spot? You want to respond to that or not really?
The moment that you put all three of us in the tournament, in fact, no, even if all three of us are not in the tournament and only one of us gets in, whether that's myself or Kyle Kennedy or Robert DeCaro, you're still going to see the other two. You're still going to see the rest of us. Maybe we won't interfere, but just the thought that we will, that'll be more than enough to interfere in anybody's game plan. Because everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's a good point. I mean, certainly if I got punched in the mouth, I really wouldn't have much of a game plan there either. So, Goliath also says, Saturday is the flashpoint for Gareth Angel, Mr. Tom Bryce. The first step in the downfall of God's the so-called champion. Well, first of all, he don't got the championship no more. He lost it to Jack Johnson. I mean, have anybody seen Jack Johnson? I mean, Jack Johnson's like 10 pounds. I mean, listen. So if clearly Mr. Angel lost his championship to Mr. Johnson, the guy who proclaimed Sulfur, I mean, let him face off with real competitors. I mean, real competitors like Remus Caine, real competitors like Goliath, real competitors even like Robert DeCaro or anybody in nonstop action wrestling. The wild card Tommy Dillon. I mean, I can go up and down the line. Something tells me here, Mr. Angel, if he lost his spot to Jack Johnson, wait till he finds out these competitors, who they are. Beth Ann Jones says, always hidden in plain sight, the society. Yeah, I get the feeling that there are society members, like I said, Mr. Caine, living right next door to me. I get the feeling that there are society members in the cemetery that are going to pull me out one day. They're going to pull me in. You guys are going to pull me in. They're going to pull me in. And all of a sudden, I'm going to be a society member. And who knows what else. But enough about me. Let's get to mixed nights. I'm not sure the Angel would withstand any member of the society on All Hallows Eve. Well, certainly, as the song famously sang by Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden called Hallowed Be Thy Name, it could very well be hallowed be thy name for Gareth Angel if the society gets their hands on Mr. Angel, and the Angel's army could very well be no more. Also, Mr. Kennedy says, certainly Mr. Angel in hell for everyone that matters does not know to answer the door once the society come knocking because the devil's sons are on the other side waiting. So would the best advice for Mr. Angel be, Mr. Caine, be if you guys come knocking on the door, don't answer the door and just maybe hide in plain view sight or just run away or just, what would be the advice you'd give Mr. Angel then?
Hide.
Just hide, right?
Even if you don't answer the door, we're still going to kick it down. And we're going to come through in force. Because we don't...
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
We don't wait for someone to open the door. We kick it down for ourselves.
Good point. Good point. So let me get to this comment here. It's a new person. Why, Mr. Angel? Ah, yes. I'm aware of him. Good chap he is. He's a very good competitor. You have any response toward that?
Clearly he's been watching something I haven't. I don't see that in Mr. Angel. Sure, he's good for beating a couple of giants, but I've not seen anything truly impressive, and I've seen a lot that I can say is impressive. There is nothing impressive about Gareth Angel.
Well, I got to get to actually something related to Mr. Angel, because it has actually been brought to my attention that Mr. Angel has given me a personal message, because for whatever reason, Mr. Angel said he couldn't comment on the stream, which is odd because I see some comments that have just loaded up. So let me get to what Mr. Angel has to say, because you might want to hear what he has to say, Mr. Caine. So basically, Mr. Angel tomorrow at some point on GT Ministries social media channels is going to be uploading his own rebuke, his own remarks toward the 30-person Rumble, which you're going to see him in Saturday night at the Fountains Church in Bradford. Goliath, who certainly has had a lot to say, the society, and basically every single person that's wrestling, either at NSAW, CCW, or anywhere else, that continues to speak about his name and can't keep their name out of their mouth. So basically, he's going to respond on GT Ministries UK social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and definitely keep an eye on that. We'll definitely share it here on Sportswire Radio because we've promised to do that for Mr. Angel. So Mr. Angel is responding tomorrow night to everybody. So I'm assuming, Mr. Caine, you'll be checking then with maybe anticipation for Mr. Angel's response tomorrow night?
Absolutely. But Gareth, I am going to say this because I'm going to spare you the trouble of seeing a disappointed face from me, because I don't want you to do what everyone else does when they talk about the society. Don't just talk about the fact that we wear makeup, or that we look like goths, or that we like My Chemical Romance, or any of these cliche things. If you're going to speak about me and the society, you would better come with some fire and some passion, and you would better get my blood boiling. You would better get my blood boiling for Saturday. I don't want to hear any generic nonsense from you.
Well, it looks like GT Ministries and some of the locker room have come onto the stream. So I'm going to get to some of the locker room here, because the locker room is fired up. And that includes, of course, Joel Cobra, one half of the Modern Day Mafia, who's going to be on the call, I believe, Saturday at the Fountains Church. And I'm sure you're very aware of Mr. Cobra. He's also been in Bolton Town Wrestling and some other companies. And he says here to you, so after Remus gets tossed out of the ring, will he be joining the rest of the KISS tribute band and touring the UK? Does KISS have a touring band that's a tribute band these days? I mean, I can't keep up with how many KISS acts there are. But would you like to respond in the meantime?
You know what, Mr. Bryce, you heard me say it earlier. This is what I'm talking about. These generic insults. And all I can ever think of is to try and take me down by my looks. It's pathetic. You really think about it, that's the first thing that they can think of. The only intelligent thing that they can think of. So Joel Cobra, maybe, just maybe, I'll save you having to get back into that ring one day and just break another limb. Why don't I? Why don't I break another one of those limbs for you? See how loud your mouth is then.
Well, speaking of Mr. Cobra, I have also received word from GT Ministries management that on the call this coming Saturday at the Fountains Church in Bradford will be Joel Cobra, and a friend that's no stranger to this show and also Nonstop Action Wrestling, that is Old School MC2. So Old School MC2 is transitioning to the booth, and also Drill will be on commentary. So it's going to be a 3-man booth at the Fountains Church. Boy, I'm excited for that. So we're looking forward to all of that. So thank you to GT Ministries management for giving us that. And also you can see Remus Caine in action live, like I'm going to do, because I'm in New York. I'm going to be watching Remus Caine live coming up here Saturday night on YouTube, GT Ministries, also GT Ministries UK on Facebook here live. So you definitely want to do that. And Mr. Cobra also says that's fine. I'll give you a physical beating soon. See you soon, Remus. So Mr. Cobra certainly is not a loss of any words. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, suggest you pipe down Mr. Cobra and stay on the sidelines and sitting with the crowd like the sad fanboy that you are. And something tells me I can actually envision the lawman Kyle Kennedy actually saying that. And also here I have heard that Mr. Bradley Cook Pattinson couldn't make it. Was an unfortunate accident. Yeah, we just announced it here that we're going to have a 3-man booth at the Fountain Church, so we certainly wish Bradley Cook Pattinson very well. So obviously we will have a very interesting call on that. So certainly that's going to be an interesting 3-man booth on for GT Ministries. So I'm looking forward to all of that, and I should probably announce it here if Mr. Angel would like, and certainly management would like. We'd be happy to stream the audio versions for GT Ministries show. We can actually do that here on the radio end for Sportswire Radio. But we are here for about 10 or 15 minutes with pro wrestling star here, Remus Caine. You've seen him in places like UKW, Nonstop Action Wrestling. He is 1/3 of the society, along with Robert DeCaro and the lawman Kyle Kennedy, also alongside Mixed Knights from management. And he is going to be a huge part of things coming up here at the Fountains Church in Bradford, because he will be a part of a 6-man tag NSAW showcase match where we will see the likes of Gung Ho Muttley, the likes of the wildcard Tommy Dillon with Remus Caine against Supersonic Sammy Blue, Champ Rogers, and the Golden Boy, Connor Cage. Very, very excited about that. We will also see Goliath and Gareth Angel. So Nonstop Action Wrestling is going to be very well represented here. Coming up at the Fountains Church, also the 30-person Rumble, ready to rumble. I mean, this is one of the most exciting cards that I have been a part of here on Sportswire Radio. Well, until August the 13th, Fire and Gold for Nonstop Action Wrestling. And we've got another 10 or 15 minutes here on Sportswire Radio with Remus Caine. And also Goliath also says here that we may be at GT Ministries this Saturday, but trust me when I say this, it's going to be a ransacking of GTM in the hostile takeover to come very shortly. Do you feel, Remus, that this is going to be kind of the moment where NSAW gets put on the map Saturday? Is that something that you think is fair to say?
You know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm not there to represent Non-Stop Action Wrestling directly. I'm there to represent the society. But they've put the flag in my hands, in the hands of myself, Goliath, Connor Cage, Sammy Blue, and Champ Rogers. And if I'm going to take over GT Ministries, then that flag is going to be waving high regardless. Maybe even replace the one at GT Ministries.
All right, and Goliath says NSAW to the moon. Let me ask you then this question. And let's leave aside NSAW for a second. Let's leave aside who's representing who. But what would it mean to you and for your career to win the 30-person Rumble Saturday night at the Fountains Church?
You know, I have quite a bit of experience when it comes to Rumbles. The first Rumble that I ever appeared in was at Christmas Carnage at Nonstop Action Wrestling. And then at the Great British Bash, I was also in another Rumble. And not just that, on both of those nights, I was in double action. I was in a six-man tag at Christmas Carnage. I was also in a tag team championship match at the Great British Bash at UK Wrestling. And most recently at Blackhearts, I went up against Mad Ed in singles. And I won. And then I went straight into the Blackheart Rumble and made a name for myself and the society. People don't seem to realize that I have experience when it comes to these kinds of matches. This is going to mean everything, because when I win, when I win at the end, Jack Johnson, it's just going to be business at that point to become the next world champion at GT Ministries. Very,
Very, very, very strong words from Remus Caine. And We was kicking down forbidden doors longer than a certain elite company. And I think he means AEW. So certainly NSAW is definitely going to be a lot more bigger and kicking down a lot more doors than AEW. Jenny Hayes also says, I know he doesn't need to, but I'm sure if Remus wants to book himself a future match at an NSAW show, he can disguise himself as Mr. Snow and book it. They do look eerily similar. But I'm actually going to put that to bed for a second. I don't see any similarities between Joshua Snow and Remus Caine. I mean, I don't know anything about it. You guys don't look at all similar to me. I don't see this as Elias and Ezekiel at all. I don't see any similarities. I don't know who they are. I don't know Joshua Snow compared to you. You guys are two totally different people. I'm pretty sure in that. I'm not seeing anything. Am I correct?
Mr. Snow said it himself. We are constantly compared for our looks. We are.
You don't even sound the same. You sound different.
Yes, we do. I don't have much more to say to that. It's already been proven. We're not the same person.
As far as I know, ladies and gentlemen, and although my eyes may need to get checked at times, it's pretty safe to say that I look at Remus Caine, I don't see any similarities to Joshua Snow. I don't even think they're in the same stratosphere. They're in the same wavelength. Whatever you think, whatever may come to mind, they're not the same person. Trust me on that. Believe me when I tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. They are not the same individuals. They have nothing to do with each other. That's all I'll say on that. But I will ask you, though, hypothetically, let's say August 13th, you are in the tournament Fire and Gold. What would it mean to you to be the company's first ever world-class champion?
It would just feel right. Regardless of whether it's myself, or Kyle Kennedy, or Robert DeCaro, it would just feel right. But let's talk about me, as you've asked. It would prove to everyone out there that the society is the most dominant force and that I am the flag bearer for the society. I have been its longest standing flag bearer ever since the society's inception. I have been there from the beginning, championing our name. And if there's one thing I deserve, it's championship gold. I had a taste of it with the around-the-clock championship at UK Wrestling. But I crave more. Whether it's the GT Ministries World Heavyweight Championship or the Non-Stop Action Wrestling World Class Championship, I don't see anyone else who's worthy of holding it beyond myself.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, certainly very, very, very strong words. And how could you argue with Remus Caine? There's no question that Remus Caine, looking at him right now, I would definitely want to bet on him as a contender. And it's the real Remus Caine.society on Instagram. Also like his page on Facebook and YouTube. And another individual comments in here and says, Joshua Snow is a weak little man surrounded by yes men. Remus Caine is a real leader and a proper man joined by destructive men. I will definitely say that Remus Caine is definitely joined by destructive men. The lawman Kyle Kennedy and most certainly Robert DeCaro, they are definitely very, very destructive men. They are very, very dangerous men. And Joel Cobra says, crazy, crazy nights. Are you trying to give us Kiss talk here? Because I think Crazy Nights was a Kiss song. I think that was a Kiss album. Are we like going into Kiss tributes here? I mean, actually he follows up here and says, going to be an interesting Rumble. I think maybe that's what he meant to say. Or maybe there was a joke related to Kiss. I don't know at this point. But it is going to be an interesting Rumble, to say the least. And certainly I'm looking forward to it here. And, of course, GT Ministries UK on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, also YouTube, GT Ministries, for more information related to GT Ministries and all the great things here. And absolutely, and I actually have a comment related to GT Ministries that I should share because I have actually been given authority on Sportswire Radio. I have actually been given authority by management that I am actually allowed to stream the audio version of Ready to Rumble. So definitely, I may be doing that on Sportswire Radio because apparently management has actually asked me specifically to stream the audio version also. So if you like to hear the audio call, if you like to hear the commentary, and if you like to hear Remus Caine, what he's doing, and certainly Goliath and Disciple, my guy Disciple, and everybody else, the wild card Tommy Dillon, well, you can now listen to it because we will be streaming the call all throughout the Saturday night on Sportswire Radio. So thank you to management for that. And Mr. DeCaro says, you are definitely a smart man to recognize the society's worth. Well, I don't know if I'm a smart man, but hopefully I'm making the right decision because, as Mr. Caine had pointed out, actually there could be society members all around me. Like I said, my neighbors are dead people. I mean, they could be society members, and maybe they'll pull me from under and underneath in the grave. Who really knows at this point? Mr. Caine, I want to ask you this question before I get to closing thoughts. Is there anything that you want to say to anybody that's coming out to the Fountains Church, or after anybody who's watching this may decide, you know what, I want to see Remus Caine. I want to see what he's going to do to his NSAW brethren. I want to see what he might do to Gareth Angel. Is there anything you want to say to anybody coming or anybody who might be coming now after hearing you speak tonight on Sportswire Radio?
If you're wanting to watch as a spectator, make sure to get your tickets or watch the live stream and you'll see what I'm about in the ring. As for everyone else who's curious as to what I can do in the ring, if you really want to know without having to experience it firsthand, there's lots of footage there. There's lots of footage of me out there already. You can see what I'm about. You can see how much I delight in hurting people. I can say all these things on here, and I could go on for days, but it would not do it justice. You can either watch it all there, or you can be brave enough and step into the ring with me. And you can see just what kind of being I really am.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. What I learned tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is that Remus Caine got hit with a kendo stick. Was it 32 times, 36 times? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times he was hit. And Remus Caine still got up, and Remus Caine still won his match. So what that tells me is that whether it's Killjoy, Young Horus, you name him, Remus Caine, after what he said tonight and what his body has been put through, he's a contender. He's a real legitimate contender, and he's got a very, very good shot to win not only the 6-man tag for his team, but also the 30-person Rumble at the Fountains Church, where a whole number of NSAW talent is going to be there, a part of it. Xander Lowe says, if Cobra doesn't break you when he sees you, we will make sure that the wolves come a knocking at your door. A threat is a statement. I'm making a promise. So Xander Lowe has already gone out there and said what he said, but Goliath has chimed in and says, pipe down, Xander. No one is stopping Nonstop Action Wrestling from stealing the show this Saturday. NSAW it to the moon. So that is all great stuff there. And that a threat, Mr. Lowe. And the Warman Kyle Kennedy chimes in there. And Jenny Hayes says, NSAW isn't to be messed with. We have the society and Goliath. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen. Forget about Rarebit. Forget about the metal god Alex Boylan. I'm not even sure if Bentley right now has a shot against society. We'll find out. I'll speak to Bentley. We'll see. But you think about the talent that GT Ministries has. I don't know if they compare to NSAW. I don't know. Because remember, look at what Jack Johnson did to Mustafa Khan, right? But Mustafa Khan is nowhere near what the society is. Mustafa Khan is nowhere near what Goliath has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be very, 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 very afraid, in the words of Bugs Bunny, when it comes to the society and Goliath right now. So certainly, those are things that I'd be keeping an eye on. Mr. DeCaro says, trust Xander, you want no part of this. So trust us, Xander. You definitely don't want part of the society right now. And Mr. Cobra says, I know Xander wants all, not a piece, and so do modern day mafia. It sounds like to me, modern day mafia, Xander Lowe, and the society down the line when that happens. But I know one thing, that Mr. Cobra's tag team partner, Dave Douglas, is going to be there at the Fountains Church. He's going to be in that Rumble, and it could be society members might know a target. They might know something that we may not know about on Sportswire Radio. And also throw the British gentleman in there. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, promises are meaningless, boy. Suggest you rethink your thought process. Boy, I'll tell you, everybody wants this. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it has just broke down here on Sportswire Radio. I mean, it has really just been full-blown action. I mean, the fireworks may have been last week in America, but the fireworks is still going on here right now because you are seeing it just break down here. It is almost as if we have gang wars right now going on Sportswire Radio between GT Ministries, between CCW, between NSAW. I don't know who's left at this point. And Mixed Knight says, at this rate, NSAW will have to open up a couple of extra shows to keep up with those that want to challenge the society. And I'll even point out, even to keep up the demand, because the demand right now is high for NSAW. The demand right now is through the roof. You talk about who wants who wants what. What I learned is that people want nonstop action wrestling. And Xander Lowe says, no thought process for this clinically insane, my friend, just so you know. So clearly, 5150 is in the minds of Xander Lowe. Listen, Remus Caine, I mean, everybody wants you right. Everybody wants you. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, the society equals numbers. You're welcome. And I'll even point out, the society equals ratings because I got loads of people tuned in here right now. And Mr. Headlington says, you may have a society, but we have a juggernaut. Well, we're going to find out. I'll tell you that much. I mean, we're going to certainly find out here. But I want to give you the floor, Mr. Caine. I want to give you the floor in that. What do you want to say to anybody tonight? What do you want to say to anybody that's watched this or you may be in the ring with? I mean, before I get to your final plugs, what do you want to say to anybody tonight?
Mr. Bryce, you've seen it firsthand here. The moment that one of us steps into a hall with you, into an interview, everybody wants to be in the glow of the society because they know what we are about. They want the fame that we bring. That's infamy that we bring. You saw it with Joel Cobra, that Xander guy. You're even seeing it with this Richard fellow right here. Everybody wants a piece of the society because they want notoriety. But what they don't know is that when they ask for us, they're not asking for a fight. They are asking to be decimated. They are asking for us to end their careers. Because when you throw out a challenge to us like you have, we don't take it lightly. We take it as serious as a declaration of war. And you want to declare war on all of us? That's not a fight you're going to win. Not one bit. When you see us at GTM or you wrestling or non-stop action wrestling, but GTM for this Saturday, you will see a force that will never be reckoned with ever again. You will see something more than a man. You will see.
And Joel Cobra says, I'll tell you what, Joel Cobra says, I hope you're ready for war. Joel Cobra says, more numbers, more people that's going to get hurt. Get your people to call my people. Robert DeCaro says, the society knows about war and battle. No one wants to test us because that would be career suicide. Yeah, that very well could be. I mean, Champ Rogers, we saw, was out of commission for a while, and only now he's just getting back. And Champ Rogers is going to see Remus Caine once again. That's a very, very intriguing storyline, to say the least. And also, Jenny Hayes says, but they have a lawman and a Goliath in terms of NSAW. Also, clinically insane, boy, I'd be embarrassed pressing and sending after typing that garbage to Xander Lowe. Also, Richard Headington says, you want to give war? You've got one. So you want a war, you're going to get one. And Xander Lowe says, we will bring the war and we will leave corpses in the battlefield, which will be yours. Boy, ladies and gentlemen, the battle lines have been drawn. I know that Mr. Caine said the battle lines have not been drawn, but certainly Joel Cobra thinks they've been drawn, and he says GTM are war machines. Joel Cobra, what is with the Kiss references? I've heard Crazy Nights. I've heard Kiss Tribute Band. I've heard War Machine. I mean, what's next? Are you going to say Revenge? I mean, what's next? Are you going to say Cold Gin? I mean, at this point, I think we're trading Kiss references here. But be that as it may, I want to get to Mr. Caine and get your closing thoughts, because I know you're a busy man. I know that you're getting ready, obviously, for the Fountains Church. I know that we're getting ready for the society to kind of have their moment. This is definitely the moment, I think, where NSAW gets put on the map. I definitely think that this is where NSAW, between Goliath, Disciple, Remus Caine, everybody else in the showcase, and certainly the Rumble, and Goliath agrees because Cobra's a broken record. And yeah, anybody who has a Kiss record at this point is probably broken records. But I know you're a busy man, and I know that I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug that we haven't, and obviously, I thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I look forward to seeing what you do Saturday. I'm looking forward to having you broadcasted on Sportswire Radio and getting the audio version of your damage, your destruction you're going to lay. And I give you the floor now, and the floor is yours, my friend.
You know, I'll kind of pleasure to talk to, and so did Richard Knight, and they were correct. So I'll say that first, Mr. Bryce. As for plugs, well, you can find my Instagram, the real Remus Caine .society over on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well as Remus Caine. But you'll tend to do most of my uploading on my YouTube channel, where you can see me and work in non-stop action wrestling and UK wrestling and beyond. And that's all I have to say for plugs. I just can't wait for Saturday to come. And the amount of devastation that I'm going to cause there, they will not soon forget it.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, NSAW official on Instagram, the real Remus Caine .society, Nonstop Action Wrestling YouTube, Remus Caine YouTube, GT Ministries UK, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also You Shock Me, Tom, meaning I think he meant another Kiss song. So that was another one here. And also War Machines Can Be Demolished. We've also got Tears Are Falling. I mean, again, this is a joke. I mean, we're talking Kiss tributes, whether we're going after each other with wrestlers here, but I'm trying to keep up here. Let me get to the final comments. Clearly, the wars are started. Just know we'll end this war. Connor Cage says, through the fire and flames, UK wrestling will be elevated to whole new heights after Saturday, I'm sure. But I'll tell you what, it seems to be that the case. And also, Goliath says, we are beating the same dead horse. Cobra's a broken record. And I think that's pretty much just about the comments here. I'll also get to one more here. It looks like War Machines Can Be Demolished by Mr. DeCaro. Clearly, the war is just getting started. You know that we'll end this war. All right, so all very good stuff here. So obviously, it has been quite a night here on Sportswire Radio. And I want to recap for everybody here before we get off. We had Jenny Hayes, and obviously Jenny Hayes announced that she wants a match with Beth Ann Jones. So we'll see if that happens later this year. We also had an announcement here that we will see GT Ministries, the audio version of it will be broadcasted on Sportswire Radio Saturday night on sportnarium.com/player. So I'm looking forward to that also. We also saw it announced here that Remus Caine, he wants a piece of Gareth Angel. We've also seen that the battle lines have been drawn quite a bit now between GT Ministries and NSAW. We also saw that Joel Cobra wants a piece of society members. And we've also saw here that Gareth Angel has broke the news here on Sportswire Radio that he is going to have his own video to be released on all GT Ministries social media channels tomorrow night. And you will also see tomorrow night more coverage of GT Ministries Ready to Rumble, because we will have Bentley at 8 o'clock, and then 8:30 Disciple joins us with Bentley. So we are going to have more coverage of Nonstop Action Wrestling, more coverage of GT Ministries. So our nonstop coverage of GT Ministries continues. So certainly I am looking forward to all of that. Mr. Kennedy says, because your precious white rose will be blood red when we are finished. So that is his thoughts to GT Ministry. So we have done a lot here on Sportswire Radio. My voice is almost about shot, so I'm almost about done. Mr. Caine, you were a very busy man. I want to thank you for your time. I also want to thank one more time Jenny Hayes for coming on. So I hope to have you back on here in the near and distant future. Maybe next time I will have spoken with you, you will be the man that has won the GT Ministries 30-person Rumble to be the number one contender for Jack Johnson's championship in September. I will certainly stay tuned for that. I look forward to watching you in the ring and hopefully speaking with you soon after Saturday. And thank you for your time, and let's hope to talk with you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody here that is tuned in on Sportswire Radio. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here at Sportswire Radio. I would do my long intro, but unfortunately, my voice does not have it in me to do that. But I will leave off here with Richard Headlington saying, "We will stir up a dark storm within GTM, shall blow nonstop action wrestling to heaven or hell." So certainly, we will find out if that will be the theme. Stay tuned. But we will be back tomorrow night, 8 o'clock live on all of our platforms with Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, and then Disciple, who is also a trainer at NSAW, and will also be in his own match, a fatal four-way match, where the winner will be the number 30 entrant in the GTM Ready to Rumble 30-person tournament. And the loser will be, well, number one. So that's the unlucky or lucky, depending on who you are. But thank you, everybody, for watching and listening here on Sportswire Radio. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce.